Hi folks, welcome to episode number 36 of the Masks of Nyarlathotep campaign here at Immortals Inc. in Rocky River on the west side of Cleveland, Ohio. We are picking things up as the characters continue to have issues in Egypt this week, and this past week the players sat down and did a little canoodling and reviewing of past adventure notes and past adventure handouts, and Nate compiled some pretty impressive flowcharts and documents of things that have gone before. So I think we're going to go over some of that tonight and probably upload that to the Facebook page. So keep an eye out for those photos to show up. Probably won't be real great camera work as we go over them today, but so pay attention to what's said. I'm John, and before we dive into all that, though, let's have folks introduce themselves.
My name's Richard McGuire, and I play a hobo named Samus.
I'm Nate Elwood, and I play Captain Sean O'Donnell, a coroner.
I'm Diana Robles. I play a dilettante, Trinidad Rizzo.
I'm Hugh.
What was that?
I was going to go right over there. I play Roland Kurtz, a physicist.
And Mel is out this week with her criminal L. So let's get a D6 roll, folks.
What are we having here?
You're having a 2.
5.
I think
Looks
you're,
like the twos
you're,
can
a,
roll off.
you're a winner.
Which I wasn't here.
I got a 6.
So I did see some of it.
All right.
So
Tell us what you saw.
I recall you guys were on a train going.
That was the latter end of things, if I recall, right?
Yeah.
Well, you got off the train early and stopped at. You were in a market, basically, and talking to merchants. And Mel met up with the merchant and went off with him.
Well, I think before we got to the train, there was some stuff, though. Anybody have
We
things they want
went
to share?
we went to visit the woman who helped Bassart when he went
There we go.
temporarily insane for 2 years.
And do you remember her name?
Nuri.
Nuri? Yeah, Nuri
Yeah.
Wasif?
Yeah. So the city she was from.
Okay.
Right?
Nuri of Wasif or something like that?
Yeah.
So we traveled there by
Mary of El Wasta.
El Wasta. So we traveled to El Wasta to try to find her. And El Wasta is pretty much teeming with the cult of the Black Pharaoh. And our old friend Alexander, as we found out later. While there, we did eventually meet up with her in hiding. She had basically the other half of the seal from the Red Pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
One half we had from Jack Brady when we met him. Now we have the second half of it. After which, on our way back to our hotel, we were being followed. I thought it
Now,
was...
do you remember while you were in El Wasta, did you do anything of note? Other than meet Nuri?
Oh, we killed the cultist.
Get all of our stuff stolen.
No, that was back.
Oh.
Same
back in Cairo.
difference.
That's what I remember. I remember there was a killing somewhere. The guy was bringing Mel to see the Black Pharaoh.
Right. And there was
You guys
tunnels
went,
underneath
saved
the...
her. She was.
Yeah. And then we killed the cultist. They kept talking about the librarian who we had to... The GM guidance let us know that it was Alexander, basically. And he learned some new spells to copy people's faces or something, because on the way back, I thought it was a tail. It was probably Alexander. So we hopped off the train to kind of throw the tail, but he ended up just going to our hotel, killing our guide and stealing the Necronomicon from
What
the
if it's
safe.
not a spell? What if it's a mask?
Well, whatever he used, it was good enough to fool the people there.
Now, did he kill and steal our stuff while I was sleeping in the hotel?
Yeah.
And he spared my life?
Excellent point.
So, that was last week.
He is in there somewhere.
That pretty much was last week in a nutshell.
Okay. And then
We had notes.
Yes.
You want to start going through those?
Sure. So, after going through all of the notes and all of the handouts, to try to put this in a little more perspective, like, we'll go all the way back to the beginning with Marion, with
Sure.
Merryweather.
Mhm.
So, he gets a hold of us and some of his other friends because when he was young, him and his friends,
Who?
Rupert Merryweather.
Okay.
He was a professor at Muscatonic who knew all of our old characters. He was an acquaintance.
And me.
And you.
And
yes.
you. Yes.
And
You were his gardener, weren't you?
Or just
I was a slave.
But way back in that late 1800s, he and some other of his friends who were kind of getting into the occult for, I think, the mystery of it or whatever. One of his friends named Marion Allen stole a Egyptian artifact from his uncle, a small golden sarcophagus with a piece of amber inside of it, and there was something inside of the amber. So these guys got together, they read some books, figured out a ritual to unlock or release the creature that was in the amber. It went awry. One of the friends went insane, another one was killed, and all the other guys kind of went screaming from the farmhouse that they had bought in the middle of nowhere to do this ritual.
Sounds like Jurassic Park.
Bit.
I'm just saying.
A bit.
I
So,
love that movie.
The first one?
Yeah.
So they had put wards on the house, so whatever they released was trapped there, and he wanted us to go there to perform a ritual to re-entomb whatever they had released all those years ago. And that's how we met Jackson Elias, and then every character met each other. But the weird part about it, looking hindsight on it, is we were reading the journal of Marion Allen. He said he took it from his uncle and the sarcophagus thing, and he felt so guilty about his friend dying and this other one going insane that he decided to go to New Orleans to find some like mystics to perform the ritual to try to bind the thing again. And while he was down there, there's a police report of him saying that he was being followed and they wanted some Egyptian artifact that he no longer possessed. And then I think the next day or something he was found murdered. And the way he was murdered is interesting because he had it just said gruesome marks carved into his forehead and his tongue was cut out. Which just happens to be the exact same way that the bloody tongue kills people.
Sure coincidence.
Yeah, sure. Completely. But at the end of that whole thing, we ended up sealing the being, or banishing it, I think, or something similar.
Mm-hmm.
And we took the sarcophagus, we burnt the farmhouse to the ground, and went about our merry way from there. Fast forward.
Do you remember why we burned the house down?
We were learning how to be arsonists.
Why did we burn the house down?
Because there was like 2 people.
Oh, that's right.
dead.
There was 2 dead bodies in there. That helped too. There was a hobo in there that was dead, and a lady.
I was not
that
in there.
dead. A different hobo.
Oh, okay.
There's plenty of them.
Was it your friend?
He was a red shirt.
And then
He wasn't going to make it.
we fast forward to 1921 when we get a summons from Jackson Elias about a expedition happening in Peru, the Larkin expedition.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to meet him in South America. Kind of gloss over this one a whole lot, like, because this is where we met your character. She was at the Lima Museum.
Being eaten by face vampires.
Yes, being attacked by a lamprey vampire thing called a Karsari. Basically, there's 2 main protagonists in there. There's Augustus Larkin, some German adventurer, maybe a Nazi. I don't know if that was. And
It was alluded, but
Yeah.
remember,
It was
Nazis
1921,
didn't-
yeah,
didn't
so-
really.
I thought he was a conquistador.
that was Mendoza. Mendoza was a conquistador from the 1400s.
Maybe he was a conquistadorian Nazi.
Augustus
He was a
Larkin.
Nazi before it was cool.
But Augustus Larkin definitely was a sorcerer, I think. He had a weird tattoo on his chest that was, I think, a bloody tongue or something similar.
It was another Nyarlathotep symbol. It was not the bloody tongue.
Because he like turned into a smoke monster type thing. But basically, the Mendoza was this, that time hundreds of year old guy who was a Carlisle vampire that they had found this pyramid deep in or high in the mountains. It was a former temple of the Father of Maggots, which is another form of Nyarlathotep.
It had a flying saucer landing pad on the roof.
Had something. It had a big crack in the top of the roof. I remember that, where they would, because these vampires didn't drink blood, they sucked fat from people and then regurgitated it into the pyramid. Basically, though, we sealed.
So they sucked fat and put it into a pyramid.
Right. And there are these weird maggots in there.
By the way, you were completely correct. It was a bloody tongue tattoo on his chest.
Okay. But basically, the conquistadors had come to this pyramid. This pyramid had already been ancient at that time, and it was basically sealed at that time. Whatever ancient peoples, they had put these gold bars that had some kind of magical properties to them and sealed the aspect of this aspect of Nyarlathotep, whatever it is, inside of it. When the conquistadors came there, they just saw gold, they pulled it out, and that's when they became corrupted, became Carlisle. As soon as we put the gold bars that they had stolen back into place, it killed them all off. Because there was more than just Mendoza. He was the only one that could talk and move around. Like the other ones were kind of crazy and just kind of feral. But that kind of basically ingratiated us to Jackson Alliance, really, and made us realize more about the mythos. Then fast forward to 1925, we go to New York. Again, summoned by Jackson Elias. We get there to meet him. We go to his hotel to find him. He's already been murdered. There are African men with headbands that we chase. That leads us to discovering that there are murders in Harlem. There's a gentleman, I'm trying to remember his name now, but he was part of a World War I black soldiers called the Hellfighters, who was being kind of accused of all the murders in Harlem. Hilton Adams, that's it. And through his spouse, we met Rebecca Schosenberg from the New York Times. Now, we started investigating Elias's death, and that's when we get a huge amount of information from, I guess, his will, I think it was, where he had, he gave us, basically, put us on the trail of the Carlisle expedition, and hints of this grand conspiracy that he'd been tracking for a few years now. We get in contact with Erica Carlisle and are able to obtain some books at their estate that was in some kind of a safe that her brother had. We also, I forget how we got a hold of them, but the Houston medical records, which is a huge amount of information.
So Houston was a member of the expedition, and when he was believed to be dead, his records went into holding with the New York City Public Health Authority.
Okay.
And Meriwether's granddaughter, Margaret, was also a psychologist, so she was able to use her appropriate connections to gain access to those.
So, after reading all of that, we basically find out that Roger Carlisle this young socialite, heir to a huge family, wealth and fortune in business, who's really young. His mother and father, his father dies kind of under mysterious circumstances, and his mother goes insane. And he starts having these weird dreams, and that's when his sister sends him to meet with Dr. Houston to interpret these dreams and try to get him help. And Dr. Houston's kind of an unethical, well, he's not kind of, he's an unethical doctor who sees Roger as kind of like a cash cow and starts to ingratiate himself in his life and goes out with him socially and kind of like becomes friends with him. And throughout all of this, it basically shows the decline of Roger, mentally speaking, like how his dreams at first were just weird, but as the months and stuff go on, especially when he goes on vacation to Bermuda, like he gets these hugely vivid dreams all about Egypt and this Pharaoh and a being called Nyarlathotep. And then they're out one night and they meet this I forget what he called her, but
psychic.
Yeah, like this young black woman who he just becomes completely enamored with, and her name's Mewu or Mewu or something.
Mewu.
Yeah, but once she was a psychic, her name was Nishunka or Nishanka or something like that.
But like as soon as he meets her, he becomes completely enamored with her, and that's when he starts to decide that he wants to go to Egypt and have a dig. And this guy Sir Aubrey Penhew from London comes into the picture, who's like, "Hey, I'll be on the dig if you fund it." So Roger puts together his expedition, and it's Roger, Sir Aubrey Penhew, Hypatia Masters, Dr. Houston, and Roger's friend and kind of bodyguard Jack Brady.
But Dr. Houston was
his psychologist,
hooked up by his sister.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He was also very well known throughout New York society as being just a masterful psychologist who could really help people work through things. Very highly thought.
That sounds like I probably want to stay away from him the way you say that.
But basically, the Carlisle expedition, according to all the articles, newspaper articles, they leave New York with big fanfare. They head to London. Once in London, then they head to Egypt. In Egypt, they started a dig, and according to the newspapers, Roger becomes really fatigued, and they decide to go on a
Did
photograph.
you say they met up in London? They all met
No,
up?
no.
Wait.
They were in New York.
Uh-huh.
Then they went to London,
Okay.
picked up the rest of the party, more than just these people,
Right,
the other
right.
people for the expedition,
The whole crew.
and then went to Egypt. They
Okay.
started a dig, and according to the papers, Roger got fatigued or sun or heat stroked or whatever, so they decided to go to Africa, to Kenya, to do a photography safari. And then while in Kenya, they were supposedly brutally murdered by tribesmen, and that was the end of it, right? Or at least that's what the newspapers were saying. However, there's a lot of big holes in those stories, especially since in Africa there was no confirmed Caucasians that were in with the bodies of the rest of the expedition. And a lot of Jackson Elias's notes dealt with the Carlisle expedition beings not being dead at all, still being alive, and a lot of other cryptic threads leading to a lot of different places in the world. But while we were in New York, we just start the genesis of finding out about the Carlisle expedition. We kind of focus more in on a cult that killed Jackson, which we find out to be called the Cult of the Bloody Tongue. They were based in Harlem at a place called the Juju House that was owned by Silas Naquani, who also owned Emerson Imports.
I don't
believe-
believe that's true.
No?
Emerson was just his importer.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Emerson provided him with most of his goods.
We never really took it. We never really went down a path of about that company, but the head of the cult, not Silas, the big guy, Makunga, was employed by Emerson.
But basically, we kind of bumble through it and break into the Juju house, find a gigantic creature inside of I call it the face snake, inside of this well. We light it on fire. We loot the place of a bunch of stuff. And
we were level 2 arsons by then.
Yes. And then we have to kind of...
And thieves, because we did loot it, too.
I didn't loot anything. Actually, I haven't looted anything out of any of the adventures we've been on.
Well, the biggest thing that we got from New York City is Jackson Elias's Last Will and Testament, meeting Jonah Kensington of Prospero House Publishing, who sets us up to with funds and kind of a lawyer to help us finish Jackson's book and find out who killed him, because it's more than just what happened here in New York, basically. Part of the big info dump that we got from Kensington was a letter about a book at Harvard that Alexander went to get called, was it Life is a God?
No, that was the Dark Sex book.
Africa's Dark Sex, that's it. And it's written by a guy named Nigel Blackwell, and it gives a first-hand account of a ritual of the cult of the Bloody Tongue in Africa. We also got really cryptic notes from Jackson himself about a grand conspiracy encompassing the whole world. And
a lot of those
so do you want to hunt down the authors of these books? Wasn't that what Jackson was kind of doing?
Yeah, like...
A lot of those notes, too, that he wrote were primarily about Kenya.
Yeah, because he was in Kenya and Mombasa and stuff, looking for the Carlisle expedition to try to prove his theory, to see that they were still dead, because according to the Kenyan authorities, they found the tribesmen responsible and hastily executed them quickly. Yeah. Also, while we were in New York, we attended a lecture of Professor Anthony Cowles, and it was about a cult of a bat cult in the Australian outback. But in his lecture, he also talks about a dark wind, which was also hinted at in Africa's Dark Sex. So
it's a mountain in Nairobi or something.
Yeah. But basically, we disrupt the cult of the Bloody Tongue in New York, but we're kind of forced to get out of Dodge because it got too hot for us, which takes us to London. So we get to London in February 3rd, 25. While in London, we investigate the Penhew Foundation, kind of realize it's
a front.
It's just a front, completely a front. That, like, all their artifacts are crap, and it's just really just used for this cult that is led by Edward Gavignon. Let's see, what else we got? We have the Empire Fair that was happening in London.
Yeah, I think there was another name for it. But yeah, that's essentially
World
what it was.
Fair.
World. No, it wasn't the World. It was the British Empire. So it was for all the different holdings.
Cultural fair.
Yeah, it was
something like that.
I can try to find the name.
But when we
maybe the British exhibition.
That's what
British
it was.
exhibition. We found there we had a vision from a painting of a mountain. I think it was like a black wind or something. I'm trying to remember exactly. But
pretty much.
Like it was a
mountain was getting darker.
Yeah.
And sort of like from behind, like rolling clouds, like moving forward from behind.
But that was in the Kenya exhibit.
It was in the Kenya exhibit.
Yes.
All right, and we figured out the
which
name
somebody
of
else
that
burnt
mountain.
down.
Later. Then we also went to The Scoop, which is a yellow newspaper. We met Mr. Mahoney, and from Mr. Mahoney and his paper, we had a couple of leads. One of them was about a local painter who was painting odd, or I don't want to say controversial, but
macabre.
Yeah, macabre paintings. We also found articles about a monster in the countryside. So I think we first investigated the monster in the countryside. No, we first investigated the painter, Mr. Shipley.
Yes.
Yeah.
We went to his house. Samus and Father Sully went to his house. In a nutshell, Mr. Shipley was somehow painting magic. He like literally painted a portal to an ancient time with lizard people.
You could have taught us to paint those portals too.
Well, I decided to kill him. And his mom, who happened to not be an actual human, but some kind of lizard thing.
In his skin,
in his human skin. And we basically looted that house of his paintings.
Was that the guy that was stuck upstairs in the bed or something?
Yeah. We had a great idea.
Around that time.
We had a great idea to take blame away from us.
When we got to London.
Didn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was irrelevant. We went through
when we got to London, I wrote about, that's what I was reading.
When we went to the countryside.
We took some stuff from that person's house.
There was like a weird acid.
Some vials of stuff.
And then the pictures themselves that were the most important stuff.
It was the glowing syringe.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which I still haven't got to inject anybody with.
No.
Well, whose fault is that?
Everybody, I get outvoted. It's like 4-1.
You can always inject yourself.
Yeah.
You got to be just like Ellen, just jump up and do it.
So the monsters in the countryside, basically it was kind of a red herring. We went out there as this old aristocratic family who had a curse, kind of like werewolf curse, but they're called ghouls. But in a nutshell, we incited a riot, and the locals burnt down the castle with them inside.
Yeah.
Also, though,
from peasants do our work for us.
From the scoop, though, we also found out about Egyptians being murdered in London.
Not all.
Hmm?
Not all those people were Egyptians.
But that's what the headline was.
Yeah, they were referred to as the Egyptian murders.
Yeah. So that led us to Scotland Yard and Inspector Barrington. And also to the Blue Pyramid Club, because I'm trying to remember, there's a dancer there. I forget her name.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
But the Blue Pyramid Club is a exclusive club in London for expatriates, Egyptian expats, and there's a powerful, intimidating woman there called Sahara Shafif. Am I pronouncing it right? Shafiq, who's the proprietor of Empire Spices.
Correct.
And Mustafa, when he was speaking with her about, I want to say, Gavignon and the Penhew Foundation, she was kind of trying to recruit him, I think would be the best word for it.
That's fair.
And was talking about how she wouldn't be upset if Mr. Gavignon were to die suddenly.
Also fair.
And as we later found out, they're kind of both, Zahara and Edward, though, are both part of the same cult in London, which is the cult of the Black Pharaoh. So it's kind of, they must have been at odds with each other. We really didn't get into it a whole lot because we kind of more focused on Edward Gavignon.
The dancer's name, if you want to write this down, is Yalisha, Yalesha. Last name Assam, Essam.
Well, basically, we find out that Gavignon has his private estate outside of London called Miser House. And he also has affiliation with this place called Henson Manufacturing.
It's also owned by Gavignon.
Yes. All of those are used by the cult of the Black Pharaoh here, but we just didn't know what for. Until we investigated a little bit and we find out that Miser House is actually where the cult kind of operates and does their murders and rituals and devotions. And Henson Manufacturing is making really weird stuff. We went in there and we found really odd blueprints for stuff that we didn't know about. We found
Muppets.
fossils. I mean, we found a bunch of bills of lading that have shipping and receiving from Australia, Cairo, Mombasa, Shanghai. And while we're at the Miser house, we kind of infiltrated the Miser house and come across their den there of stuff, where Alexander picks up this ill-fated crown of eyes, puts it on, and
he's still wearing it to this day.
probably no, he's not. He's not.
No, it's not.
But basically, we again shoot first, shoot later, shoot all the time. So we attack the cult at the Miser house, light it off, try to burn the house down. It doesn't go very well for us because Alexander is starting to be controlled by this crown of eyes, and Gavignon is a pretty powerful sorcerer, it turns out. So we find out that we cannot destroy this crown of eyes by throwing it into molten steel or anything like that. It's like it's not destructible by human means. So we just decide to kind of do scorched earth again. We're like, oh, well, the Miser house is on fire. It should be pretty well gutted. And we set Henson Manufacturing on fire as well to deny the cult of getting any of that stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't just fire. You went more than just fire. There was acid and explosives.
Yeah. I mean, we did a number to Henson Manufacturing, like a big number to it. However, I mean, we took artifacts from Miser House, but we kind of burned a lot of stuff as well. Again, we were able to disrupt the cult in London, but we were pretty much going to be killed if we stuck around London. So we flee London, and at that time, we're like, we need allies, and the only ally that we can think of was Jack Brady, who we had a note from Elia Jackson saying that he had met somebody who said that Jack Brady was in Shanghai. So we go off to China. On the boat ride from London to China, Alexander's in a really bad way, and we stop in Port Said, Egypt, and we retrieve the small sarcophagus that we had from Meriwether, and decide to create the ritual to bind the crown of eyes into it. We successfully do that ritual, seal it in the sarcophagus, and then drop it in the Indian Ocean, hoping that at least if it's 20,000, well, if it's 20,000 leagues under the sea, then maybe it's safer. It's definitely safer than it being on our possession and Alexander trying to constantly put it on his head. So we will arrive in China on March 16th, and we begin our search for Jack Brady. The first night there, though, we are robbed. We find out the person who robbed us is this underworld queen called Madame Swallow. Yeah. She wants to find Jack. Well, she has her spies everywhere, and they know that we are looking for Jack Brady. She wants to find Jack Brady because he stole something from her, and she was hoping that by getting us involved, we could lead her to him. She ends up having a relationship with Declan, which kind of ingratiates her to us a little bit. Well, more than a little. We're not that outright, and she actually helps us. But what Jack stole, once we find him, actually, what we find out he stole was ancient scrolls that he was having translated by a scholar called Mute Hassan, who he is living with. And on these scrolls is the Ineffable Eye ritual, or the Eye of Light and Darkness, and it's a way to combat and stop the Black Pharaoh, basically.
Yeah, I think his intention was to rebuild the piece that Carlisle busted to go back to Egypt.
And that's when meeting Jack Brady brings in a huge piece of the puzzle as we get his account of what happened. Yeah. And basically, he was friends with Carlisle, and while he was in New York, he was he was really leery of Dr. Houston, and he did not like Mewu that much either. And when Jack asked him to go with him to Egypt on this expedition, he almost was like, I really don't want to go, but you know, he was like a brother to him and helped him out so much. He's like, and he wanted to go just to protect him. So they go to London, and when they're in London, he talks about Roger and Penhew getting this black bust that Roger's completely obsessed with, and a map that both of them are completely obsessed with, just studying it all the time.
And we know that the bust came from Egypt.
Egypt, yes.
From
the Miser House notes, I think.
Yeah, but that's when we discover the link to that bust in Egypt by Jar.
But basically, Jack says that once they head out to Egypt, Roger starts kind of really going crazy, as with the rest of the major people of the party. And one night, once they got to a dig, Roger takes off and starts climbing the Red Pyramid, and just scrambles up there, and he comes to a flat piece of the pyramid. And it doesn't describe what he does, but he breaks it. He just says that he had to do something, because we have the pieces of it. It's a big piece of marble, so he couldn't have just punched it or something. He broke it somehow. After that, they pack up from that dig site, and Roger tells him that, now the eye is open. Now we can meet. I can meet a real god. You should meet him too. And he, Houston, Hypatia, and Penhew go to the Bent Pyramid, enter it, and Jack gets worried because they disappear for like a day, I want to say. Yeah. They come out a day later, and they're all even more wacky. And Roger's telling about how they actually went to real Egypt and met a god, and how there's going to be a demonstration of power, basically. And in the desert, they basically gather all the workers, do some kind of ritual, and these things come out of the ground and eat all the workers.
We know some detail about that ritual, though, from the notes of William Bassart.
Right, but that's not until we get to Gavin.
Yeah.
So, basically, after Jack sees this, even though it doesn't say it in the notes, he kind of loses it, and him and Bassart just sit down and start drinking to kind of cope with what they just saw. And a day later or so, they're like, we're going to Kenya. We're leaving for Kenya. So Jack gets it in his mind that, all right, I'm not going to let Roger be around these people anymore. They're all crazy. I'm not going to let my friend do this. So as they're on their way to Kenya, he kidnaps Roger, grabs money, and then he knew from being a Marine, he was in Shanghai before, he knew some people in Shanghai. That's where he decided to go to, and they kind of hop, skip, and jump their way to China. But they only get as far as Hong Kong for Roger before his mind is so far gone that Jack's forced to put him into a sanatorium. But he goes on to Shanghai. And while in Shanghai, a few months later, he sees Penhew, who he thought was dead because he had read the newspaper articles about the Carlisle expedition being killed. He sees him on a yacht, and that's when Jack starts to investigate Penhew in Shanghai, and starts to find out that Roger Penhew and Ho Fang, a different cult, are in league.
Ho Fang is the
head of the bloated woman. Jack starts to form an army of patriots, Chinese nationalists.
Yeah. Basically anti-communist.
Anti-communist, right. And he's kind of feeding them the whole anti-communist spiel, but in reality he wants to take on the cult. We also meet Captain Asagi, who is Imperial Navy captain. But basically,
we don't know what his rank is, but he's a special
intelligence officer.
Yeah.
Basically, we kind of piss off the cult of the Bloody Woman, or the cult of the Bloated Woman. We find out that there is a big, I guess, cult base on Grey Dragon Island. We decide to use the Imperial Navy to have them attack the island.
Under the false pretense that it was a secret military installation.
Yes. We fed them a line so that they could bombard them and we could go there.
Yeah.
But before that though, we meet Ho Fang at his residence and are attacked by Deep Ones. That's where we meet the Boston sorcerer,
Carl Stanford.
Yeah, of the Silver Twilight. But shortly after that dinner and us barely escaping with our lives from Deep Ones, that's when we attack the island and
fail to escape with your lives.
Yes, but we did kill Penhu.
Yes,
and everybody else on the island, because on the island was some weird Mythos rocket, Deep Ones cultists,
Japanese.
Yeah. Now we had no idea what the rocket was for or where it was going, because we were all mutilated by cultists or destroyed in an atomic blast, basically. The only original party member to escape this, because he stayed on the boat, was Samus.
That's a lie.
Alexander?
Yep.
Who was betrayed by Alexander.
Well, he was a party member too, still.
So
we had a party on the boat. It was a party boat.
It was.
So we go from China to what I call a little help from my friends. So after the almost total party kill, Samus recruits friends and confidants of former investigators to take up the mission. This new party comes together April 17th of 1925, and we meet up in New York. While in New York, we hear the reports of a new face monster in the subways. There are more bloody tongue murders. We meet up with Kensington and resume the investigation. We meet up with Rebecca and resume giving her info for her story. Alexander attacks, burns down Prospero House, tries to kill Roland, and kills the lawyer and takes all the funds and information from our expeditions. But in the end of New York...
Did Alexander burn down the Prospero House, or did we?
No, he did.
No.
He summoned fire
We
demon
trained
to do
him
it.
how to burn things down, and then he burned things down.
But we used Lieutenant Poole to raid Fat Mabel's, which is basically the new Juju house where all of these murders are happening at. Makunga is killed, the head of the Bloody Tongue cult. Silas is arrested and later stabbed in jail. The face monster is slain, and the cult of the Bloody Tongue in New York is destroyed. And then we use the ritual that we learned in China to seal New York, or at least that part of New York. Side note, on your way back to coming to the States to get a little help from your friends, you picked up Roger Carlisle from the sanatorium and delivered him to Erica Carlisle back in New York. So then we go from New York. After sealing New York, we're like, well, we'll go to London and do the same thing. We arrived there middle of May. We find out that the something with claws destroyed the Kenya Mountain painting at the Empire Fair.
But we do discover a new painting.
Right, that you purchased. It's a queen at the Egyptian.
At the Egyptian tent.
Right. We then go to the Penhu Foundation, kind of sneak in. We ambush Gavignon, kill him.
You double tap.
Yeah. Made sure he's dead.
Yeah, that was like late night that you snuck in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got he had his diary, and also Sir Audrey Penhu's diary, all about the rocket manufacturing. His diary was basically how our old party had really hampered stuff for him, and
put them months behind or more.
Mm-hmm. We also find a Chinese telegraph talking about Houston is down under. I forget exactly which one it was in there, but so it kind of hints that maybe Dr. Houston is in Australia. But we burn the Penhew Foundation.
To the ground.
Well, we light it on fire. But again, we weren't able to accomplish what we needed to. So, with, I want to say, Zahara now kind of being the de facto leader of the cult in London, I think we were attacked or something. We basically realized we need to get out of London once again. So we couldn't.
There's some interesting detail you missed. It was either that night or the night after the Penhew Foundation thing. It was right around the same time. I mean, probably like either the night before or the night after, or maybe even the same night. I'm not sure. But we had hired a kid to sort of watch the movements of Zahara at the Blue Pyramid, and he's the one who told us about movement going on between the rebuilding of the Miser House, and people going from the getting in a truck at the Blue Pyramid. So that night when they were going to leave, we knew that they were going to leave.
Mm.
We broke into the Empire Spice, and that is when, just by happen chance, Samus, I think, or Mel, maybe both, discovered that secret room in the basement that was like a ritual room. There was a statue, a bloody altar, some chains for hanging people's wrists and whatnot. We left it open, and then we were attacked. On the doorstep, we shot some bullets, and then we had to flee after we killed cultists there. And that morning, the morning after that, we found the newspaper article that had the police report from that event, that there were 2 murdered Egyptians, and there was a description of foreigners. That was us. But more importantly, the police also discovered that room, because we didn't take the knife, we didn't take the statue, we didn't really disturb that room, mainly because Samus, I think, ran after failing a sanity check or something. But the door and everything was open. And then the cops said that they were looking for the owner of Empire Spice. And because our description was going to be in the newspaper, or was in the newspaper, we ended that morning by going to the Scoop to tell everything that we knew about Gavignon, a conspiracy between the elite of England. I mean, it was a Scoop type article. It sounded so ridiculous it couldn't possibly be true, but man, was it a good story. But we wanted it out there that this was going on. There's a secret cult, and Zahara was the murderer, sacrificing people in the basement and all that kind of stuff. So we just wanted that sort of all that information dump out there as some crazy tale that was perfect for Mahoney to write. And then we left.
Yes, because it was getting dangerous in London. So we decided to go to Egypt. That brings us to...
We tried to go back to the Miser House, and we were attacked by deep ones.
Oh, that's right.
So
at the bridge.
We never got to go back. And then we also, just to kind of confirm how crippled Gavignon's plans were, we also went back to the manufactory to find that it was pretty much no construction.
Right.
There was very minor construction done, and nothing there. So between Zahara being hunted now by the London Police Department, our story out there on the Scoop is some crazy conspiracy, and we hope we crippled the cult in England enough that we don't necessarily have to kill.
We do have to find a way to seal.
We gotta seal
Miser House, but that's at a later time.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's too dangerous for us to be in London. So we left for Egypt, got there in June. While they're looking into the Carlisle expedition, we finally tracked down Warren Bassart. He gave his account of what happened, which is very similar to Jack's, but also details a little more about
the loss of his own sanity.
Yeah.
So if you lose insanity, do you become sane?
If you lose insanity?
Do you become sane? That's my question.
Or unsane, I think, is.
Uninsane?
Or just unsane.
Differently sane.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, to summarize what we know in Egypt already, we met Bassart. I got some articles from the Bulletin newspaper from
the English newspaper.
Nigel Wasif about the Carlisle expedition when they were there in 1919. We met Dr. Kaffour, a curator for the Cairo Museum, also a sorcerer who knows about the mythos. We met a drunken ex-worker for the Penhew Foundation on the Clyde expedition, which is in Cairo right now. Van Hoevelen happened to stumble across an ancient temple of Bast and stole some scrolls.
Yeah.
When we met a devotee, maybe an avatar of Bast, I don't know. Catwoman, who is pretty badass, who basically is allowing Samus to translate these scrolls.
Go insane, you mean?
No, pretty much. Yeah. As long as he preaches the gospel of Bast. In Bassart's account, that's where last session we met the old woman and her son, who helped him out and got the other half of the seal from the Red Pyramid. We went to the Bent Pyramid.
Yep. Well, we didn't necessarily want to go to the Bent Pyramid.
We found some hidden tunnels. I just have the Catacombs of Evil under the Sphinx.
You didn't want to go to the Bent Pyramid?
Well, we ended up there.
Yeah.
When we went through the catacombs,
somebody had the thought of going through the black hole. I'm not
Giza
going to name names.
Giza catacombs, that was it. We blew up a sarcophagus of what we believe to be Queen Nitocris. And we were basically transported and meet Black Pharaoh, or something looking like the Black Pharaoh, in a chamber room with jeweled pillars that was from Life as a God.
Yep.
And it had like a big map, star map, I think, was behind him or something. But we somehow
projection screen.
Banish him or do something enough to that he transports us back into the Bent Pyramid 3 days later.
We were in the Bent Pyramid.
But you also had some visions when you were with him.
Yeah, the destruction of the Carlisle expedition, the death of Jack Brady during that expedition, but then we also learned that all that was, some of that was a lie. Because we knew the truth behind it. So, yeah.
Because we know that Jack's alive.
So,
was alive.
Before you nuked him.
Yeah.
So, what we think we know at this point?
Nothing.
Well,
no, I mean,
you did gaze into my eyes.
We got a lot. Like, so in ancient times, there was this Black Pharaoh, Snefru?
No.
Or Neferka?
Yep.
Who was opposed by the goddess Isis and Snefar. They built the Bent Pyramid to house him, and used his body, and used the Red Pyramid to seal him inside of that. Fast forward centuries, you have this young man, Roger Carlisle, who's starts to get dreams, gets involved with these cultists. Now, this is like what I'm wondering is, like, I think Roger Carlisle is a pawn, because when Jack takes him and leaves, like, the cults didn't like totally go after him, you know, like they weren't totally looking for Roger Carlisle as soon as he had left, which seems weird.
I think there's some things to consider. is that the other members were already given their instructions. And looking for Roger Carlisle just wasn't a part of those instructions. And so even though that like Carlisle's sort of role in Egypt was complete because he was the one who destroyed the eye, still set the rest on their path.
But it makes me wonder, like, what was it about Roger? It couldn't have just been money, because, like, Penny had money and Houston had money.
The dreams came to originally?
Right. Like,
that's what I was wondering, too.
Like
why him?
Why him? Is what I'm wondering.
Because he was an influence and it was like he a prominent man in his day and time and money.
It's all the girl's fault.
Well, we really didn't do our due diligence.
Like, to get the things going that they needed.
The girl was projecting dreams into him.
Yeah, like, I think the genesis of it was Meiwu, because it seems like after, or Morawu, or I'll just say Meiwu because I'm used to saying that in my head. So, like, after he met her, his dreams got much more vivid, much more precise, and he was obsessed with her, and she was the one really pointing him towards, hey, let's go to Egypt.
Yeah.
Penhew was all about that. I think this is just logically in my mind. I think Penhew was an archaeologist at one time, probably came across something mythosy, and just started following it. That's what I think, maybe. Dr. Houston, according to like what we know now from Bassart's accounts and the letters and stuff that we know, because it talks about Houston in Penhew's journals, talks about him like coming up with the weird bomb stuff. So like he's like a mad scientist now or something.
We don't know the relationship between Penhew and Al-Shakti.
No, and that's another weird part of it too, because Al-Shakti didn't go into the Bent Pyramid with the Carlisle expedition, and if Al-Shakti is like a big part of the Black Pharaoh cult, like that doesn't, like, we don't know boo about Hypatia Masters. Like when I first, like in my mind, when we first got the first stuff in New York, I thought she was just like. At first, I honestly thought Roger Carlisle was gay, and Jack Brady was his lover, and Hypatia Masters was like his beard, you know, just because it's 1920s. But
very believable.
But now that she was, like, it took Bassart to detail who actually went into the pyramid. So she came out and she was all sick and stuff. So she's an integral part, but we don't know anything about her. Like, we didn't do any research on her. All we know is that she was like a socialite and a photographer. That's
Who's her?
Hypatia Masters, one of the original Carlisle expedition.
Yeah, a friend of Roger, a photographer, and just a buddy.
Yeah, like. We don't know much about Meiwu, to be honest.
Other than she was some hack psychic.
Have you guys seen this picture before?
No.
No.
So, this might be.
That's the original expedition?
That's the members of the Carlisle expedition. So, we have Roger and Jack, and Penhew and Houston, and Hypatia and Moera.
Okay.
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 So.
And Hypatia was a friend of
Rogers.
Well,
that's what it said in the paper, but
yeah,
you know, we don't really know much about her at all. We don't even know where they went.
We know that she lived in Harlem under a different name.
Meiwu.
Mararu did, yeah.
Yeah.
Her name then was, I said it already today, I forgot it again. She was like an entertainer, psychic.
Charlatan,
yeah. But probably playing like that social circle. Because Roger met her at one of those socialite clubs.
Yeah, but in all honesty, we really don't know much about the Carlisles either, because some of the dreams.
Well, I mean, after they came out of the pyramid, they were different people. They have been changed. They've been altered. Yeah, so any previous motivations or whatever have been rewritten.
Yeah,
how did Roger break the seal? I mean, we're talking. It's a piece of granite, you know. It's not like he just like chopped it. I mean,
if these seals can be broken with that kind of ease, then any work we do is irrelevant. When a cult member can just climb the pyramid, break the seal, and start the shit all over again. But a cult member can't.
The whole point was Roger wasn't corrupted yet. They had to convince an innocent person to do the breaking.
Okay.
I thought that was to do the sealing of it. You had
no,
and
the breaking.
Oh, okay. So that might be it then.
But we have the ritual to break the seal too. That's also in the
we stole it
scrolls
from
of
them.
Hassan.
Okay.
You found it.
We only wrote. The only notes that we actually took was how to make the seal, because we're not planning on breaking the seal. But those
But when we convert, then we'll need those notes.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right. So okay, that makes more sense then. So Roger then.
So yeah.
He was pure.
Okay.
He was
I guess pure enough.
But he still had to have learned that ritual to break the seal.
But also though,
because
I was thinking like, because his dad died under mysterious. They said he was a drunk driving accident, but it doesn't really. And there's this one vivid dream that he talks about where his mother and his father are like getting a portrait done of them. So his mom's sitting in a chair and his father is behind her with his hand on her, but the portrait is his father's the Black Pharaoh and his mother's this huge bloated woman scooping people into her mouth. So maybe.
Wait, where's that portrait? Where?
No, it was in his dream. Dreams. One of Roger's dreams that is in Houston's notes.
Yeah, Houston's notes are like that.
Yeah. It's a lot. Yeah. Like it took a week to go through this whole thing.
So we don't know anything about.
Like I said, what we know at the moment, I don't know where Neocrease fits into this. Like.
Roger, really the child of.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe this was all predestined from a while back, but.
My notes say that Roger had bad dreams since he was a child.
Right. But they started getting a lot worse after his father died and his mom went crazy.
Yeah.
And that's when he started to have Egyptian dreams and have.
But those were the parents that raised him, not his real parents.
Who knows? Like I'm saying, we don't really know much about the Carlisles.
Well, we study dreams, things like that.
we don't know much about Mawu other than, again, she was a former charlatan or something like that. I don't know. Like, I honestly think that she's like the genesis of this, because after he meets her is when he starts really going off the deep end. So there's got to be more to her than just, some charlatan in Harlem.
Agreed.
And it just so happens that a cult of the Bloody Tongue is right where she used to hang.
Yeah. Now, like I was saying in the car on the way here, that there's this Elias's notes talks about these 6 pillars, and I think if we sort of analyze what those 6 pillars are, these are 6 locations, and I think each pillar.
Well, in that star room, there was 6 pillars with jewels on top of them.
That's exactly right.
All right.
So I think that sort of corresponds with what Elias was saying about the 6 pillars and locations.
Well, I was thinking more along the lines that the 6 pillars that they're talking about in Life as a God that guy was in that room that we were at.
So are you saying the 6 pillars are like Egypt and
Kenya?
Yeah,
one pillar is Egypt, one pillar is in Kenya, one pillar is in New York, one pillar is in London, one pillar is in...
We had no idea what the Mythos rocket was going to go to. Like,
yeah. And I think it's a part of some mass murder ritual that's needed to either light the pillar or break the pillar, because the pillars represent locations where those keystone eyes are, that is sealing evil, and with that ritual of mass murder is either breaking those seals to open up whatever. If all 6 seals are broken, what happens? My theory is that all those 6 are keys, and if all of them are open, then a gate opens up, and that's when Nyarlathotep can walk through. So, like, what we're seeing in Egypt is just 1/6 of the power of Nyarlathotep. What we're seeing,
there could be 5 other rockets. You're saying, like, there wasn't one in New York, at least that we know of.
We didn't know of, but we also do know that the manufacturing plant was making rockets.
Yeah.
And we disrupted that.
Right.
So those mass murdering machines we've put an end to.
But Neocrease fits into this, and I'm not. That's where I'm kind of fuzzy on the notes, because I didn't take really good notes when we talked to Kafar. I just have like little bits and pieces. Like, she was a queen.
Yep.
Did she rule with the Black Pharaoh? Was that it? Because I know that, like,
review that.
Because I know there's like certain objects that you need for her to be resurrected.
We have 2 of them.
Did
Well, you need all 3.
That's what I thought. Like, I'm trying to figure out where she fits into this. Because it's what the Clive expedition is looking for, right?
That's what we think.
Looking for?
Or found and it disappeared.
Yeah.
And we're not even certain what role Dr. Clive has in the cult. Or we know...
He's part of the Penhew Foundation, so,
yeah,
I mean, that's a big red flag right there.
Yeah. But what is interesting is Dr. Kafur said that the mummy was stolen. Okay, and with the note that we have from the drunk Van Hooven is that Nitocris walked away. My theory is that she didn't walk away. Is that Brotherhood goons walked off with the sarcophagus, and his drunk ass just reinterpreted it as she must have walked away because when he was sober, the sarcophagus was gone. But Dr. Kafar said that the sarcophagus was stolen. So why would Dr. Clive say that the sarcophagus was stolen when he didn't have to say that he found it at all? He could have just found it, taken it to the resurrection site. Nobody would have known anything. But there was a report that it was stolen.
Well, maybe, like, we don't know much about Al-Shakti. I mean, we know that he's the leader of the cult of the Black Pharaoh here in Cairo.
We also don't know what role the government played in helping to excavate, providing security.
Yes.
So he might have had to report the stuff being withdrawn from the area because there are government people.
Yeah.
Or it maybe here in Cairo is kind of like in London, where like the Egyptian side of the Black Pharaoh cult doesn't necessarily like the Westerners of the Black Pharaoh cult.
Well, but maybe, but we don't know. We don't know the time frame here. How long has the Black Pharaoh cult been in England? Was it there in 1919? Was it there after Penhew went to the Bent Pyramid and then sent like Al-Shakti to send liaisons to London when he figured out that it was happened to be a place where the pillar is?
And that's another thing. We really don't know a bunch about Penhew's actual history. I was just conjecturing, like, I think he was an archaeologist or something. But
we do know that Al-Shakti is a liaison between... he's like a cultural liaison.
Yeah, and he gave them the bust of the Black Pharaoh.
No, it was stolen.
Oh, it was stolen. Oh, Najjar stole it.
Basart stole it, sold it to Najjar. And then Najjar
I thought Najjar stole it and sold it to Basart, and then Basart sold it to Carlisle.
Basart stole it.
Basart stole it, okay.
Yeah. And then Najjar sold it to Carlisle.
Gotcha. But Najjar is dead, though, right?
Yeah, he
Yes.
He died. Yeah.
Well, he survived the fire that took his wife and his shop.
But...
Then he talked to us. So
He talked to us
and then they
died.
killed him. Okay.
Yeah. So we don't know certain time frames here. We don't know how long the cult has been active in England.
Well, you know that the Miser house looked like an old mansion.
Right.
It didn't look like something that was just built.
That's right.
And we also left out a major
old
part
And
here.
you also know
Every single cult stronghold we've gone to has had the same maritime clock
the people
that are synchronized. So they're all like
the people that lived in the village had been genetically altered over generations.
Well, we think that too, right? Because they
it's like deep ones.
they had the Innsmouth look.
Yeah.
You mentioned in your notes that you thought Queen Nitocris was responsible for the overthrow of the Black Pharaoh.
No, I don't think we ever said that.
I think Nate said that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that is correct.
No. I
think you might be mixing up
ISIS.
names there.
Yeah, ISIS and Snefar were responsible for the overthrow of the Black Pharaoh. What we don't know is
how does Queen Nitocris fit into all that? Like, we know she was a queen.
So she was a queen much later.
Yeah, like 1,000 years later or something,
Yeah,
right?
so Neferenka
And she was
part
trying
of
to
the
bring him
3rd
back.
dynasty. Queen Nitocris was a member of the 6th dynasty. So you're talking hundreds, if not
thousands of years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of years after, before?
But
after.
But she was definitely part of the Black Pharaoh.
She was thought to be inlaid with a new cult of the Black Pharaoh.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and to resurrect her, we need
Girdle.
the girdle, the
headpiece, and
necklace.
we already have 2 of these items.
The necklace.
Yeah. We
Until it gets stolen.
We don't
we don't have the eye, the necklace
belt.
of the eyes, because that's in the.
It's different
different necklace. Okay.
No, we do
Different
have-
necklace, different headpiece.
Yeah, we don't have the belt, which we believe is buried underneath the mosque of.
Someone with a T, right?
No. Ibn.
An I.
Oh, Ibn.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So.
Which, that's just the first part of the name of the mosque. I'm
Yeah.
trying to find the full name.
Ibn Tulun.
And you've actually been in that mosque.
Is that the one that?
Yeah, Ibn Tulun, that's where you met Najjar.
Okay. So it is in old Cairo. Okay. Yeah, we know that the Brotherhood wants something there, and I think what they want is the belt. But I also think right now it's irrelevant if they get the belt because we have the other 2 pieces, and we also completely evaporated any remains of Nitocris.
If that was her sarcophagus to begin with in the catacombs. I'm guessing it was.
We're guessing. Yeah, the sarcophagus had her name on it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So, then again, maybe any body will do for her when her spirit can just inhabit anything. So maybe.
So what we know for sure is that the cult of the bloated woman, the cult of the bloody tongue,
Yeah.
the cult of the Black Pharaoh,
Yeah.
The cult of the bats.
and the we know something's going on in Australia, but
Yeah, we don't know.
that those are definitely working together.
Yep. I think we can assume that all of them are working together. They're just different faces of
Right.
different masks of Nyarlathotep. Would you say?
Yeah.
Or we
might.
can call it, or we can call it a global organization called Hydra.
Yeah. So at this moment, though, we put a big dent in their plans in London. We
Yep.
sealed New York.
Yep. We don't know what we've accomplished here in Egypt yet.
Well, we haven't investigated
care
the
of
Clive stuff.
Shanghai.
We got
Sort of.
stuff
We don't know that
stolen
either.
back, and we got
We
stuff
blew up something in Shanghai. I don't know if we took care of anything, but we.
Well, for quite a few years, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I mean, the cult of the bloody woman isn't really affected. Like,
no, it's not.
I'm
I
trying to
don't
remember.
think so.
I know that Hofeng has like an import-export thing. I think we went to check it out once, and it was like tons of armed guards and crap. We're like, we're not going there.
There was.
Yeah, we're like, we're not going there right now. So I mean,
And you've been at his mansion.
right, which had literal deep ones in it. So we'll have to cross
you know what
that
happens
bridge.
when you nuke a deep one, right?
Yes.
It becomes radioactive.
Yeah,
So-
I don't think we've done any.
Didn't we blow up Hofeng's,
We blew up the
We
island.
blew up an island.
No,
you blew up his warehouse.
Yeah, the warehouse.
Yes.
Because then we got in the boat and went
When you
That's right.
you got on the boat after you
Blew up the
Molotov cocktailed his.
It's his warehouse. That's right.
And there's technically some of the Patriots that were a part of Jack Brady's team didn't go on the boat with us, so they're not all dead. Because we left some behind specifically to take the warehouse out.
Or at least to keep the warehouse occupied so you could steal stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And they might have died. We don't know.
No.
Well, we are dealing with people with magic. So, point is, that's where we're at. Finally, all that is where we're at.
That was an hour and 15-minute recap.
There we go. Well,
35 sessions.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that is where we're at.
Now can we go get our stuff back?
From where?
Who stole it?
We don't.
Alexander.
Well, Alexander. Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, we
But-
know where he lives.
We don't know where he's at right now.
We don't know where he's at, but we know where he lives.
So. Okay.
So what do we know in Egypt? That's what we got to focus on. How do we deal with Egypt?
Well, I think we need to find out more about Al Shakti.
Yep.
We need to talk to Dr. Kafur and let him know that, I mean, one of his prized possessions isn't gone. Maybe he has allies that could help us. That might give him, because before he's been really hesitant about giving us anything more than just, but if we're like, dude, they stole your book.
Well, he could have a spell to detect Necronomicon.
Yeah, who knows? Something. I mean, he could help.
We know that spell exists because
I mean, Bassart
tracked us down.
Yeah.
Bassart, I don't think is going to be much help.
No.
I mean, if we keep him in like hashish, he might be lucid enough to help out a little bit.
I don't think he's going to be any help whatsoever.
Something. Van
Doesn't my character
Hooveland
have a
is.
thing that has connections everywhere that can find out things like that?
Your superpower? I don't know. You gotta look it up.
Hooverland might
I
be.
can call in my
He might
connections
be
in any
ambitious
field
enough
or
to help
endeavor.
us if we can convince him that the stuff that we'll discover will be groundbreaking. You know.
Van Hooveland, you remember you guys stole the scrolls
Yes.
from Van Hooveland.
Right, he's not going to be very friendly towards us.
That's true.
Or
I thought he didn't know we stole them.
He was passed out technically.
He was passed out, but he probably remembers drinking with you and the fact that you did come
Maybe he
back.
doesn't remember anything at all.
We could just
It's
tell him that we
possible.
kept him in safekeeping because he was so drunk and he was passed out. And
You could try that.
But at this moment, we're at the hotel. Mahmoud's... No, we left that hotel.
Yeah.
Mahmoud's head was...
So there was actually some discussion about that. Did you definitely leave it? Because it was the most secure place you'd been.
what do you mean you left the hotel?
No,
You talked about leaving
we talked
the hotel.
about it.
I
but
don't know that
then
you
we
actually did.
We just
because-
got other rooms, and I think we paid for a funeral, if I remember right from
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're at the hotel. We know that either Alexander or somebody, probably Alexander, killed Mahmoud, stole
Well,
the
you've had
Necronomicon.
the missing left hand
Yeah.
clues.
Clues,
So
right.
it's
And at first I thought it was just like part of his devotees just chopped off their left hand, but I think it was actually him.
But wait,
Especially now that we find out that he can assume other people's identities.
wasn't the son? Didn't that one son have a missing left hand?
The son had, or the mother had, like her jaw removed and her
Burned
hands
off,
removed. Yeah,
both
something
hands.
something horrific happened to her. So
And the sun was all
messed
ripped
up too.
Yeah.
Okay.
But once we took the seal, that's what they wanted. I don't think they're gonna mess with them.
She became pretty incoherent once you took the seal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think she just like exhausted all of her power and energy to make sure that we got that seal, and then when we got it, that's all she had left. Yeah, I think
So-
that's.
we know that we have to probably scale the Red Pyramid, and I'm guessing remake this seal.
That's a given.
But before that, we need to take care of this cult of the Black Pharaoh, or at least, I mean, it's old too. I mean,
yeah,
just being in those catacombs are thousands of years old, so they've been around for a while now. We need to find out about more than just he's a cultural liaison, and like we got to find out about Al Shakti. We got to kind of put feelers out for Alexander, but I think we should start with Kafur. Let him know that the Necronomicon's gone.
Why?
Because
Seriously, why do
of
we-
all the people in Egypt, he's the only one that
Has to try to kill us.
and knows magic.
But maybe he'll want to kill us now.
Yeah.
He's a museum curator.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you
so,
bad?
I'm hoping. My hope is that because he's been so put off about helping us, really helping us, because he's afraid of. But if they now have the Necronomicon, he might help. I don't know. I'm spitballing stuff right here.
Yeah.
Or we could go to the Clive expedition dig and get killed there. I don't know.
You know, I'm thinking if we want to know who's working at the Clive actually like the workers at the Clive expedition, we can probably get that information from the British.
We don't need to know about the workers. They're just local guys digging. Like,
But we need to know who else is with the Clive expedition. It can't be just one guy. It's not
Yeah.
just Dr. Clive, right? So there
Right.
might be some other name drops that we can get, right? We
A
go to the,
crossover person that was on the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that Clive said something, but you didn't actually talk to Clive. You
No.
talked to Van Hoovel.
that who's
right.
right.
So we need to go to the British. What's it called?
MC.
Embassy. Yeah,
Right.
Thank you. Where we can get the names and the location.
Well-
and the itinerary pretty much for the because you can.
And I'm thinking about talking to this
There is
Nigel Wasif guy from the Bulletin. Maybe he knows some information about the Clive expedition too.
There is another entity that you guys. Who has archaeology? All right, so a couple of you have archaeology. You guys would know that in order to bring any Egyptian artifacts out of Egypt, it has to go through the Egyptian Museum, which means...
Dr. Kapoor.
Yeah. So Kapoor is going to have a fairly good idea who's part of any major expedition.
I didn't think he had close ties with anybody from the Egyptian.
I'm gonna go check. I can check up this one.
Thank you.
My brain ain't working today, guys.
Government?
Not the Egyptian government. Well, maybe that too, but the
Customs?
No, what's the antiquities?
Yeah, I mean, it's the official Egyptian museum, so yeah, it definitely has ties with the Antiquities Administration, or whatever you want to call it. So he would be familiar with any authorized digs.
Okay.
So
by necessity. I mean, it's part of his job.
Yeah.
So I think going to Dr. Kafar might be a good option at this point.
Let's get some more information about Dr. Clive. So what we needed to figure out is...
We got to talk to him before he gets killed.
What are we trying...
I don't think they're going to... They'll kill Kapoor, I mean. I don't think they'll kill Kapoor.
I think they'll kill anybody.
Well, I shouldn't say I don't think they'll kill him. I don't think it'll be easy, because he seems to be a pretty badass sorcerer. I mean, very knowledgeable at least. Like, I doubt he's just like... He doesn't have protections that are more than just, carrying a handgun like us.
So I think what we need to do is we need to figure out, we need an objective. Just talking to Dr. Clive, that's great. What are we trying to get out of him? We need to figure out, we need weapons to defeat the Brotherhood of the Black Pharaoh here in Egypt. We need weapons to do that.
Are we going to fight fire with fire?
That's
so are
what
we going to do
about.
research on the books we got? And that just costs time.
Yeah.
So, you see, if you're willing to spend months reading books, and then you run out in the desert and get killed, then you got to get new people to have to spend months to read the same books again.
Yeah, but we have the advantage of just doing a montage that takes 5 minutes of explaining what we're doing. Bam, 6 months later, new group, trained, army facility.
And the eclipse has already happened, and the end of the world has passed.
So I mean, if we go to Memphis and we go to the dig, what is our goal there?
To stir the pot, to have more people following us, more people trying to kill us, more stuff that we have that gets stolen. I don't know. Seems like all valid strategies.
So I mean, like, what questions do we think that Dr. Clive can give us that might help us get
what questions or what answers?
Or what answers to the questions? We don't even know what questions we're going to ask yet. But what answers are we looking for from Dr. Clive?
I thought we were looking for questions.
Maybe that's it. It's like, why don't you tell us what you know?
It's like Jeopardy.
What is the question I need to ask you to get the answers that I need?
What are you doing here? How long have you been here? Do you know about these other people? I thought
we do need some information to maybe help fill in some certain details, like how long has Dr. Clive been working with or for the Penny Foundation? How long has Al-Shakti and Penhew been working together? Like those kind of things. Was this set up by Al-Shakti, or was it set up by the Penhew Foundation?
We have the shipping manifest, and we can look to see how long ago they started sending items to Egypt or whatever. We still have that.
Earlier than 1919.
Yeah. Well, you can look it up. You can look at that. Yeah. You don't have to ask the guy a question.
But he hasn't been in Memphis before.
Well, maybe by saying going to the club, like scoping out from afar, like stakeout type thing, not actually just like walking up to like, hey.
Yeah, but like, Memphis is like, it's an archaeological dig site. So if we're only assuming that the Clive expedition is the only expedition out there digging.
It's the only one.
Thank you, Don.
Yep.
Oh, it is.
I'll give you that.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
The sides are hot. Well, not super hot, but warm.
No, but I can make more if you want.
Just use up the hand.
I'll have Nancy make it.
No, I don't want you to go out of your way for that.
Do you, anybody else want coffee?
If I have another one, I'm not going to sleep tonight.
Do you want more or no? I have Nancy make it at 7:30.
I'm good. This one cup will jumpstart me. So, again, do we talk to Dr. Kafour then?
Or do we skip town?
Mel wants us to know that Elle is recovering, I guess, and writing a correspondence letter of the events back to Boston.
Is she mailing them to?
And she also said she's just along for the ride right now.
Yeah.
Is she mailing them to Alexander's house?
No, he doesn't have a house. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, he does.
She wants to know if Nate's saying we don't need our stuff before we go see the Black Pharaoh.
So what we're trying to figure out is what.
I hope we don't see the Black Pharaoh again.
What are we? So, but Nate, what are we looking for if we go there to scope out from afar? Like, are we trying to shut down the Clive expedition and hope they're like smuggling, or like, I mean?
No, like, I mean, all right. With the Carlisle expedition, the whole purpose of them having an expedition was for him to break the seal, and them to, I'm assuming, go to the Bent Pyramid and go into the room that we went to with the star map and the god in it, right?
I think that
like if they're still here, because as soon as that happened, they literally killed off all of the workers in a ritual, and then are like, all right, we're going to Kenya.
Yeah.
So
I think the point of that.
I think if Clive did what he meant to do here, then he wouldn't still be here, if you get what I'm saying. I don't think that they're done doing what they're doing yet.
I think the purpose of the Clive expedition was to go to all the pillars and destroy all of the seals there. Destroy the seal in New York. We don't know anything about New York, but what we did figure out is that there was a seal there and it was broken. We had to make a seal and we put it inside of the subway. So we can assume maybe
was there a broken seal in New York?
We never found it.
Oh, okay.
But what we did, but we made one anyway to put it inside of the busted bricks in the subway.
Okay.
All right, and then we felt it work.
Yeah.
Something happened when we did that.
And as long as we feel good, that's all.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, maybe it was just like, we did it, guys. Let's get the hell out of here. We don't know if there's a seal in London, but there's a murder room there.
And an entire house with a murder pole.
With a murder pole.
A murder obelisk.
Yeah.
So
that's, I think, key. A murder obelisk filled with Egyptian hieroglyphics. We didn't really get to look and see if maybe there's a missing brick or whatever.
I mean, well, that's all fine and good, but then they're up to something.
They're up to something. Yeah.
We can do.
We don't know what it is they're doing in Memphis. We don't know that. We can maybe
looking for Queen Nitocris.
No,
so what do you want to do?
Memphis.
You want to just like go in and just wipe them all out and then don't worry about it? We stop them? Just like kill the entire expedition?
No, I don't know what we're after though.
Information at this
point. Information.
What they're doing.
I mean,
if they're
Nitocris
dead,
wasn't there. Nitocris was in Giza.
She was only there because they found her sarcophagus.
Not in Memphis.
Yeah.
No. They found her sarcophagus in the small pyramid at Giza.
Was that what she was?
Yeah.
That was what she was found? I thought the Clive expedition.
Clive expedition found her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not in the small pyramid. The name of that pyramid is
Bent?
Not the Bent. No, we're talking about Giza.
Not the red. It's the. It begins with like an M or something.
Yeah, M.
I don't know. Mizu or something. I don't remember.
Mycerinus?
Yeah,
Mycerinus.
Mycerinus.
Yeah, and that is the.
Now, this Clive expedition, where are they close to though?
The Clive expedition was at Giza, and they're currently at Memphis.
And in Memphis, wasn't Memphis where? Isn't that where the Red Pyramid is, or is that Giza?
No, the red is not in either one.
Yeah.
It's halfway between.
No. Yeah, so you guys haven't gotten this map, but you probably should.
So we have
Old Kingdom, something underneath it. Nile, Amenembet, something, black.
Well, we have
Red Pyramid right here.
Yeah.
And then it says Cairo, 37 kilometers.
8 kilometers.
And Sakura. So here's the Red Pyramid.
Yep.
And the Clive expedition is.
That's the bent pyramid over
That's
there.
where.
Is that the Bent Pyramid?
No.
No.
That's not where Clive.
We got somebody's campsite. We don't know who that is.
But this is the Bent Pyramid. This is the Red Pyramid.
And they're about a kilometer apart from each other.
And the Clive expedition is somewhere around here, is what you're saying?
No.
No, it's not.
Clive expedition is in Memphis. We don't know.
But they had been at Giza.
That's right.
So this is Giza then.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
No.
Mike Arenas' pyramid is at Giza.
Yep. It's like the smallest of the three.
Yeah, so Giza is where the Sphinx, the Cheops, the Khephren, and Mike Arenas' pyramids are.
That's right.
So that's Memphis.
This is Memphis?
That's Memphis.
Okay.
Okay.
So they're at where we
Tennessee.
need to be if we're going to make that seal again.
Okay.
So
I'll
they
give
are
this back
there?
to you, so
You can keep it.
keep it. All right.
So the Clive expedition is there?
Yes.
Clive expedition is currently in
Somewhere
Memphis.
in
They
that
used to be at
area.
Giza.
In
It's
that
at Giza is where they found what they believed to be Nitocris' sarcophagus before it was stolen.
So now they're mucking about
Here.
right where
The bent pyramid.
oh just so happens the freaking
Yeah.
doorway to the Black Pharaoh is at,
Yep.
and where we need to probably seal once again.
Okay. I think then the Clive expedition. Alright, so how do we be efficient here?
Efficient. We've never been efficient yet.
We need to understand
We
more
don't have Mammut no more.
what the what the ritual requires of us. The ritual requires the site to be cleansed.
And a full moon or whatever.
And a full moon, right? But more importantly, is there needs to be a cleansing here.
Which
child
means that the Clive
sacrifice.
expedition,
No,
Need a
just
sacrificial.
an
we have a
innocent
doctor,
blood.
an innocent's blood.
We
So
have to
a doctor
sacrifice a
and
child too. We forgot that part.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
It's pretty easy for me to come across vials of blood. I mean, I could go to a hospital.
I don't know. All these people
Go to
in
a
Egypt, they might
to
be
neonatal ward and draw some blood. And all it
That's
has
a
to
little gruesome.
a little gruesome, but I mean,
It
if
is.
it
I was
stops the
saying
world
that.
from ending,
Neonatal unit?
what's more innocent than an infant?
It's true.
Well, you don't have to go newborn.
I know.
I'm pretty sure they're still innocent up to, a couple of, well, that's
How
true.
about-
I
how about
remember
some
2-year-olds,
stem
but
Yeah.
Keep the
Can
doctor walking around, creeping around newborns.
Can we use stem
So
cells?
the Clive expedition is obviously
Not
something we're going to
1920.
have to.
I figured I'd ask.
Yeah, so we need to know what does. So if the ritual says that the area has to be cleansed, right? How big of an area? A 50-mile radius, or the area?
Who knows? Maybe they got a nuke rocket here too. We just don't know about it.
Right.
Well,
That's
I think we need to find the Clive expedition to find out the area. That'll be our answer.
There was a red blinking.
But I don't want to walk in on
There was a
Clive.
red room
So
underneath
far,
the Sphinx.
So far, going in guns blazing first hasn't helped. So
well, we
let's.
haven't really done that.
Well, why don't we ask
We've
the
done that
Kafar?
literally every other place we've
it
been.
worked great at Juju House.
It did.
But it wasn't our guns that were blazing.
Why don't we ask
Yes.
Kafar where it is?
It worked really well at Great Dragon Island.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, I think we need to find out more, definitely about Omar al-Shakti, because we know boo about him.
Yeah.
And I think Dr. Kafar is our best bet.
Who's Omar Khashoggi?
What if
Omar
the-
al-Shakti is
He's the cult leader in Egypt.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Oh yeah, Omar.
No,
that's
Kafar
the
said
name
he
that we
was.
gave it.
He's terrified of him.
That's the name that we gave it with our luggage.
Yeah, so
So
nobody
not
would
the-
bother it.
Omar. Yeah. How did I forget Omar? Good old buddy Omar.
What if
Fills the restaurant up on the ring.
what if the resurrection of Nitocris is the bomb here in Cairo?
Then we just gotta get rid of the cultists around there so that they won't break the seal once we remake it. So how do you get rid of a group of cultists?
Well, the argument has been so far, if you kill their leader, then they disperse.
No,
That's been the strategy.
A new leader kind of rises up because the first time we were in New York, we had
Hail's Hydra.
Nakwambe.
The first time you killed Silas.
Yeah, we didn't kill him. We had him arrested, and then he was stabbed in jail.
That's true.
So, and then Mukunga took over. And then in London, we killed Gavignon, and then Sahara took over. In China, we killed Penhu and incinerated a whole bunch of Deep Ones and cultists, but we didn't deal with Ho Fang at all. So, yeah.
That was
So
just
all
like
the leaders still live?
That was
But I'm wondering,
a secret launch facility.
another thing I
There's
want to figure out.
another leader that takes over the other leader, basically. Yeah.
And cut one head, another one comes up.
So, but
I'm wondering if if Clive and El Shakti are kosher, because I don't know, like, I knew in London that Zahara did not like Gavignon, like, so much so that she was like kind of trying to persuade Mustafa to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm wondering if it's the same here, if these Egyptian Black Pharaoh cultists don't like the Westerners.
No, I think you misinterpret. I think that the London deal wasn't about a racial thing. It was about a power thing. He's in charge. I want to be in charge.
That could be.
I don't think it
Well,
had anything.
then maybe if Clive is part of the Penhu thing, and we know Penhu met the Black Pharaoh, did El Shakti, he wasn't at that ritual. Did he meet the Black Pharaoh too? Did they have a power structure here?
Well, we don't
know.
I think Kufar's going to be after the answers for this,
So
because we need to find out where
I mean, maybe
the Clive is, because I think Alexander, we're going to find a lot of answers when we find that.
I mean,
Alexander's close by. He took our stuff. He's under the influence, cultist, so he's probably.
I don't know. He's under the
Or
influence.
he's under the influence of
Nyarlathotep.
Yeah.
He drank
his
the Cthulhu
motivation.
Yeah, he drank the Cthulhu age.
Yeah, his motivation might not correspond with anything the Black Pharaoh's doing. He just wants to kill us, the end. Who cares about Omar Shakti, you know?
Or he might be
I
league
don't
with
know.
him. I don't know. I think
that's
he'll
just
latch
I
on
don't
to
think that's a
who's
total
ever
ball.
powerful.
Yeah.
Because they're going to use them for, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a weapon that Shakti
Yeah.
just says, just go in this direction.
Yeah. Which means, we know he's here in Egypt at least. We know to be on guard about it. And hopefully we meet up with him so that we can get some sweet, sweet revenge. At the moment, though, let's go see the doctor and give him the bad news.
Yes, I think we should be honest with them and tell them that our stuff was taken.
His stuff was taken.
Our stuff.
His stuff.
We have some stuff left in the main vault.
We got a lot of stuff
Oh, yeah,
left.
your stuff was in there, too.
Yeah.
That's right.
So is there anything else you want to recap, or do you want to move on to going to see Dr. Kafar?
I think we recapped it all. I think we went over what we think we know.
Okay.
Which is a lot of nothing.
No, it's a lot of something. We don't know what they're doing, but we know it's something bad. And we know it's a global thing.
Yeah. But we don't know how to stop any of it.
And it sounds like
it's on a timeline, because they each have these chronometer things that are like synchronized. That's got to be something.
It sounds like you have 3 questions in Egypt.
Yes.
And the 3 questions are Clive Expedition, Omar al-Shakti, and Alexander.
Yes.
Agreed.
Okay.
Those are 3 pretty important questions.
Oh, 4 questions. Our stuff.
Well, that's Alexander.
That's Alexander.
Five
I don't know.
questions.
Alexander's
The resurrection of the queen.
No, I think we stopped that.
You think that's a foregone event?
Yeah,
I think
we have the artifacts to resurrect her.
Not
we
all
still
of them,
don't
though.
know what's in the red room or the green room.
It's also true.
We only know what's in the black hole. We're not going back there.
It's also true.
Oh yeah. Do we really want to go back into the Catacombs of Horror, though?
might be a touch safer, honestly, because the influence that Nyarlathotep, or the image, or the spirit of the thing,
not going to cast illusions on us.
Isn't going to cast illusions on us, yeah. But on the other hand, if the banishment of the thing in the tower or in the pyramid or whatever may have been felt by other cultists, Al-Shakti may have been weakened or felt the jar of that.
Or was extremely pissed off that we blew up the sarcophagus.
That's right, yeah. So, like, maybe now they're... And we also destroyed the Guardians. We wiped out the Guardians of that place.
Oh, the hippo guys.
Mutants.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe now it's going to be, like, armed guards everywhere. You know? I don't know. Or the resurrection room is just defiled now, and it's going abandoned, which means that anything that was of importance in the green room or in the red room are gone.
Let's put a pin in that one. I don't know if I want to go back down there just yet. But let's go see the good doctor.
I think it's a secret launch site.
It's a project for the next characters.
Yeah, exactly.
So the top of the pyramid opens up and the rocket.
Yeah.
What next characters?
Or the Sphinx, because this is all.
The mouth of the Sphinx open and a rocket shoots out.
Or the top of its head.
Okay.
Good times.
So, what's the current date?
Today is the 26th of June, 1925. It is a Friday.
It is a Friday.
When is the new moon, the next full moon?
The next full moon isn't until...
Like the 7th of next month.
The 6th of July.
Okay. That's actually only about 2 weeks.
And I keep explaining to you, we're not going to make that too long. You keep not believing, but I'm going to keep saying it.
It's 10 days away. A lot can happen in 10 days. Could all be dead, but...
Could.
Okay.
Alright, so the 4 of you are heading to the Egyptian Museum.
Yeah.
I'm going to say you guys had a long discussion at breakfast today regarding what you have gone through. And that's where you reached the decision that your next step was to go and visit Dr. Kafour.
Mm-hmm.
Probably sent a courier ahead to arrange a meeting. So we're going to say he made time on his schedule to meet with you at 11 a.m.
All right.
So nothing else you want to take care of before that, correct?
No dead bodies we want to bury?
I always want to know everything you have going on.
We only have some dead bodies to dispose of.
We do want to...
Really only one, right?
Yeah, like, I'm sure we can go pay our respects to Mahmoud and give the proper monetary thing for him to be buried in his faith.
Put some food on top of his coffin.
Faith is kind of a strong word. Mahmoud's primary devotion was money.
Food.
Yeah.
We need to maybe find another guide of the city.
What is today's date again?
Today is the 26th, Friday the 26th of June, 1925.
So you guys make your way to the Egyptian Museum and meet and get to Dr. Kafour's office. And he says, my friends, it is so good to see you again. What brings you back? Have you made progress reviewing Al-Azif?
I think we may have angered the Brotherhood.
He gets up, draws the blinds on the window, closes the office door.
They've made a personal attack against us.
Indeed.
And they have taken many refugees.
And yet you live.
We do, but not everyone in our group. The young boy, Mahmoud.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
And some of our things were taken, and I think now the Brotherhood has them, one of which is Al-Azif.
This is a serious loss. This could... Not only do we lose access to those mysteries, but for the Brotherhood to gain them is treacherous. I'm very, very disappointed in your lack of security. I was under the impression that you were more cognizant of the risks involved in this sort of operation.
Unfortunately, the individual who took them was a former companion of ours who turned.
Was it the woman?
No. The locals call him the librarian. He was a former professor of languages.
Indeed.
And it seems as though he has come across some kind of magic that allows him to change his visage. And that is how he was able to get past our guards, by impersonating us.
Most treacherous.
It is. I feel awful.
As do I.
What if we're talking to him right now?
I do glance at his
A valid concern. He rests both hands on the desk. Do you have some means of identifying him?
You have both your hands.
He's missing a hand.
Left hand.
That is a valuable insight.
Might be some scarring up his arm.
You give him a detailed description
of Alexander.
A name.
Really, we're coming to you not just
Wait.
to tell you.
A European that's missing his left hand.
Yes.
I spoke with him last week.
What's his name?
I do not remember exchanging a name, but he had come to the museum and was asking many questions about the pyramids and the expeditions and some of the traditions. I suspect this was your friend.
Do you remember
Or
what he
foe,
asked?
I guess.
Do you remember what he asked and what answers you gave him?
He had asked about Jackson Elias and the Carlisle expedition, and also some questions about the Black Pharaoh. I do not believe I had told him anything beyond what I have also shared with you. I did find it unusual that another person would be asking about these same matters as you, but the Carlisle expedition did receive a great deal of attention in the papers, and, well, Black Pharaoh cult seems ever more active.
Brings us to a touchy subject for you, but what can you tell us about Omar Al-Shakti?
Do not say that name.
The leadership of the Black Pharaoh.
His ears are everywhere throughout Cairo and places beyond it. The recitation of the name can be enough to draw his attention. At least that is the common belief. Though I do not know how that works, I fear that it may be the case. He ostensibly owns a cotton plantation north of Cairo. And I believe he lives somewhere near that plantation. I'm sure I could get you directions to it if you wish to pay a visit.
Yeah.
I will provide that then. And he reaches into pulls out an address book and grabs a map and sketches it out to you. The name of there's a small town called Gezira, Gezira, Mohammed. It's about 6 miles north of Cairo, and that is where he has his home and the largest of his cotton plantations.
This is Omar we're talking about?
Yes.
This is a town? Gezira Mohammed is a town?
Yeah, small town.
You can just assume that everyone there is probably loyal.
If it was anything like the other village we were at.
How active has the Brotherhood been?
Since Carlisle.
Since the Carlisle expedition.
Officially, of course, they do not exist. But I believe they have percolated under the surface of Cairo for centuries. Possibly since the time of the Third Dynasty.
So since
talking millennia now.
Yes. I believe that even when Nefron Ka was defeated, that some of his followers remained in Cairo and continued the traditions that he had started. I believe that they worshipped the outer gods, led by the demon Sultan Azathoth. Do not think me mad, but I fear that I have seen servitors of these dark gods times when I have been doing my own field work in the desert.
Have you heard about the massacre at the...
These things...
The massacre?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get at. Like, one of the Carlisle expedition members, we were in contact with him, talked to him. He spoke of an army of sphinxes.
And also things under the sand.
With multiple heads. Devourers was really, I think that was the word he used.
I do know that Nefron Ka was rumored, the legends say that he possessed a huge beast, and that the statue of the Sphinx is but the smallest representation of that beast. Legends also say that the voice of Nefron Ka traveled throughout the land like a black wind. And I believe it is that legend that may grant the power of the cult leader to know when his name and other words of power are spoken.
Does legend say about a time in which this will come to fruition?
Fingers and toes after the arrival of the Great Good One.
Okay, we've heard this. Probably.
Yes, we did discuss this.
So fingers and toes, 10.
20.
You only have 10 fingers and
so
toes?
20. So sometime in the mid 20th century.
What calendar did you go by?
Yeah. Kurtz can do that.
Here's another odd question though.
Wait, there is more about, you asked about the Black Pharaoh's traditions. Inhuman worshippers of the Black Pharaoh are said to lurk beneath the desert, attacking those who go near their places of refuge.
Inhuman worshippers.
Yes, half man, half monstrosities. And the Great Sphinx may have served as a site for dark celebrations under Queen Nitocris during the 6th Dynasty when she was in power.
I know we told you that we've discovered Queen Nitocris's artifacts.
Yes.
And we found them in what we believe to be a resurrection chamber under the Sphinx.
They must be destroyed. I do also think that the cult of the Black Pharaoh may have grown beyond Egypt.
So he already knows that we have those things because he wanted to take them for the museum.
Yeah.
The last time we were here.
I think the cult of the Bloody Tongue in Britain's Kenya colony may also worship a different incarnation of the Black Pharaoh.
We believe so too. We've encountered them in New York.
New York as well.
We've encountered the Black Pharaoh cult in London.
But we believe that the London cult, though, is a branch of the Brotherhood of the Dark Pharaoh.
This organization is constantly growing and constantly renaming itself. Be aware that it is spreading like a disease hidden from sight throughout civilization.
Cthulhu virus?
You might call it that.
What about the other side of the coin? Are there people who oppose the cult here?
I see 4.
4 is not an army needed to destroy the cult.
Are there others like you who know and can maybe help, at least with information?
I would hope that there are some, but I have not made many positive contacts. I had hoped that your Dr. Alexander was one, though you tell me he is not.
Did he leave, did he tell you where he might be staying? Or anything like that?
Let me check. Pulls out a journal and flips through it. He says, yes, flip.
It looks everything.
He does.
I believe he is staying at the Hotel du Sud.
Hotel what?
Du Sud. D-U space S-U-D.
That's here.
In Cairo, yes.
We know...
Not far from the train station.
Perhaps we could set a trap.
We could talk about it. And we know...
We'd have to have your cooperation in that, though.
Regarding what?
Possibly getting back your book, but moreover, confronting Alexander.
What is it you wish?
To arrange a meeting under the guise of you and him, though you won't be there.
If I can be of service, I am happy to do so.
It could be under the premise that you know that he has the book, and you will trade our location or our plans for the book.
I will write what you see necessary.
And we can talk about that soon.
Of course.
We know that Sneferu. The legend is that Sneferu and Isis defeated the Black Pharaoh in the 3rd Dynasty, correct?
Yes, that is the legend.
Are there any artifacts from the 3rd Dynasty from Sneferu
You mean beyond the bent pyramid?
Yeah. Any physical objects from Pharaoh?
I do not have anything that is explicitly his property. What is it you seek? What is it you hope to find?
A way to defeat the Black Pharaoh. To prevent what is coming. Have you ever heard of the 6 pillars?
I have heard references to pillars throughout many different articles. I would need more context.
Alright, this is a question for the DM. In Galazith, was there a reference to 6 pillars that
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, that doesn't seem like something that would have been explicitly mentioned in that work.
Okay.
I will tell him about, or read to him our notes on the life of a god. I think that's where our reference of the pillars originated, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Life of the god came from...
New York, I think, right?
Yeah. Sorry, bunch of page flipping here.
Jeweled Throne of Darkness.
Yeah, it should be explicitly spelled out in the handout because I'm looking to try to find that handout right now. In order to find out exactly what it says.
Here it is. When the 6 lights were lit, and the great word said, then he came, in all the grace and splendor of the higher planes. And I longed to sever my veins so that my life might flow into his being and make part of me a god.
Alright, so yeah, you give him that specific quote.
Well, Twisted door of the jeweled throne of darkness, celestial majesty and rebirth, all that jazz.
Within the contexts of the Black Pharaoh, I am not familiar with any particular reference to 6 columns. But as we speak of the different cults that have spun off from the followers of the Black Pharaoh, it seems possible that there could be 6 key cults.
Alright, I was thinking. Hey,
thank you.
you might be the guy to ask about these symbols. Oh shit.
Here goes the map.
Oh no. I'm so sorry.
It's aged.
Watch that paper, you're right on there.
Here's paper towel.
Oh god.
So sorry.
Give him that.
All
for
my
the
work.
paper.
All
Don't
my
worry
work.
about that. Worry about the paper. Here. I can wash that off. This can get washed in a laundromat. Do this, you guys. I'm right on here.
It's really not a true gaming resource until it's had pop or coffee spilled on it.
I'm surprised it took us over a year for this to happen.
I'm glad it wasn't me.
I'll be right back.
Did anything
And
become
you wonder why I always
some of
fanatically
it.
reseal my file.
Luckily, I have.
I was going to say, luckily we do have high-res photos of it already,
Yeah.
but
Oh, well.
it's frustrating.
No biggie.
At least it's your buddy.
Only a week of my lunch
Take a
breaks.
punch
No
on
biggie.
the-
Actually, it's not that bad.
No, he'll be fine.
Yeah, it's not that bad at all.
I think he's coming back with a few more paper towels too. So
think we're fine.
Okay.
Just gotta dry now.
I just made us an aged map.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. We just got to dip the rest in coffee.
Yep. It's much more period appropriate now.
Yeah. All right.
And it smells so much better.
Yes, we need a official coffee sponsor of the campaign.
Yeah.
So, you were asking about columns, and Kafor said, I think that does seem to match up with the various cults that have expanded across the globe, though I'm not sure I am familiar with 6 different ones.
Well, when we were in the Bent Pyramid and met what we believed was the Black Pharaoh, we were in, I believe, the exact same room that he was talking about, because there were 6 pillars with jewels atop of them and a celestial map behind a throne that he was sitting on.
Then perhaps it is not an obscure reference, but is a literal intent. And if that is the case, then there might be no more to it than what you have already uncovered. Simply validation that you were in the same place as the author of that manuscript. But tell me, how are you going? Tell me more about how you wish to, or how you expect to recover my book.
If it's still in the possession of Alexander, and we confront Alexander, it would still be on his, considering this happened last night. There's a good chance if we get to him quickly that it will still either be on his possession or in his hotel room, unless he's already met with someone and given it away.
If he is the man with whom I met, I doubt he would give up such a text without taking the time to study it himself.
Agreed. He's the kind of person, from what we understand, who would keep that book.
Perhaps
Then
we don't
let
need-
us act quickly before he garners greater powers, greater abilities from this text. What would you like me to send to him to draw his attention and bring him out so that you can recover the book before he becomes an even greater threat?
Perhaps just a letter asking to meet somewhere out of the way for fear of ears that might overhear, because he's probably under the impression that he gave you that he's been looking to confront the cult as opposed to working with it. You've come across something that might be of great interest to him, but you don't want to say it in a letter. You want to say it face to face and out of earshot of the cult that seems to be prevalent everywhere now.
I think him betraying us would seem like something that Alexander would be more sort of keen.
Perhaps you could meet him. We could meet at the Mosque of Ibn Tulun. It is holy ground. That might be to your benefit, dealing with one who is less than holy.
I don't want to put any clerics or imams at risk.
Then where would you prefer to meet?
That
The girdle might get him to
the
go to
girdle
the
might.
mosque.
Yeah, we believe that the girdle is at Ibn Tulun.
There's bait for you.
Oh, yeah. Meet me here.
All right.
I know of something that you.
Do you know
want.
of the? What would they call? It wouldn't be the abbot. It would be the imam or cleric.
The man you are asking after is Ahmad al-Dahabi, the Nazir of Ibn Tulun. Ahmed, A-H-M-E-D, Al-A-L-Dahabi, D-H-A-H-A-B-I.
He's the, what is his title?
He's the caretaker. Nazir, N-A-Z-I-R. And it's actually not currently a mosque, it looks like when I'm reading here. It serves a variety of purposes. Part of it is as an asylum. I mean, they still hold prayer services there.
But you know this Nazir?
I know Nazir al-Dahabi, yes.
Would he be adverse to possibly having violence happen at his mosque?
He is not a violent man, but if you can convince him that this Dr. Alexander is in league with dark forces, I think he would be amenable to doing what must be done.
I like the sound of that.
We need all the allies we can get.
Yeah.
That may sound like one.
Perhaps you should meet with the Nazir first.
Yes. If you could write a letter in regards to...
I can give you a letter of introduction to him.
Yes, that's
to
what I
take
meant.
with you.
Because we're foreigners. And
Yes, of course. He sits down and takes 10 minutes and quickly writes a letter of introduction. And he tells you that it basically says, look, this will identify you as friends of mine who are true servants of light. And that you believe you need to meet with a man who has given up his soul to the forces of darkness, and that he must be overpowered so that sacred relics may be recovered. And asking permission to use the mosque as the site for a meeting, or perhaps more accurately an ambush for him.
An exorcism? Is that how you're going to justify it?
I cannot guarantee you that he will provide you manpower to assist in this effort, but I believe he will be willing to let you at least use a private meeting room.
all right.
So
Let's do
I
it.
will pen that. So he gives you that letter.
Right.
When I hear back from you regarding this, I will pen the letter asking to meet with Dr. Alexander.
All right.
Mm-hmm. So we need to figure out. Well, we need to go there.
Yeah.
Will he give us a letter to take there?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anything further you wish from me?
Where is the expedition? Didn't we want to ask him that? If he knew?
Yeah.
Names.
Yeah, I guess
we want names.
Of the Clive
Names of...
the Clive expedition is in league with the European cult, and we're wondering if, being the curator, they'd probably have to come through you for permits and everything.
Yes.
Who besides Dr. Clive is part of this expedition?
Well, Dr. Clive is the chief archaeologist. He is a more than capable archaeologist and has written excellent justifications for his dig placement both at Memphis and at Giza. I have every reason to believe that he is a knowledgeable archaeologist. working with him is a very junior archaeologist by the name of Martin Winfield. I am less familiar with his abilities, but in my brief interaction, he seemed a petty man. There are one more accomplished archaeologist named James Gardner. He seemed very knowledgeable, particularly in the studies of Jungian traditions.
Jungian traditions?
Carl Jung? Yes, his teachings.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that, Gardner has written several books about ancient Egypt. I believe I have one of them. Looks, checks the shelf. Yes, here. Passes your book. He was particularly interested in the Sphinx and the traditions of an unnamed ruler who occupied the throne in ancient times. Gardner is another British archaeologist. And then there's a woman who accompanies the party, a German woman. She is a woman, so I very much doubt that she has any decent education. But she is capable of reading hieroglyphics.
What's her name?
Johanna Specht. Johanna, Johanna, Specht, Specht. She maintains crazy German idealism. I try not to touch on these matters. But when the group met with me, those were all the archaeologists. And then there was some crazy old woman accompanying them. Another Briton, I believe. I do not know what her specialty was, but she seemed to flit from matters to matters and always be staring off and babbling about things and speaking of matters that were of no interest to me. Miss Broadmoor. Broadmoor. An older woman, and I dare to say, no professional. She must have been accompanying the expedition as a sponsor or something, for it made little sense why she would be here, part of any reputable archaeology.
So Martin Winfield, James Gardner, Johanna, and Miss Broadmoor?
Yep.
Have they registered anything with you of finds that they've had already?
Well, they did register the sarcophagus that they thought might have belonged to Nitocris, but they also reported its theft. Other than that, there was nothing of particular significance.
What was their what was the nature of their expedition in this site?
Well, the justification in... One moment, please. The Pennu Foundation funded them, and with the funding they had, well, it is easy for the Egyptian government to justify permits when the contributions to the coffers are quite so large. Their Giza expedition was to investigate Mykerinos' pyramid. And They did report the recovery of the sarcophagus along with some papyrus scrolls, though their reports indicated that those scrolls were not in any condition to be examined, that they were all poorly preserved and crumbling. After their frustration with the theft at Giza, that was in large part for why they moved on to Memphis. I am not completely certain why they are digging at Memphis at this time, other than the fact that they had the resources both to obtain the necessary permits and to maintain the necessary manpower to keep the dig going.
How many, do you have a record of how many other people are working at the site with the main, with the group, with the expedition?
I mean, how many
diggers, other advisors, total number of employees?
How many potential victims?
Yeah, how many potential victims? Or
near 100.
Near 100?
Yes, it is a very large dig.
In Memphis?
You were not sure what it is they're digging for?
I think they're simply digging test pits and then following up on anything of interest that they find.
When these types of expeditions come to you to get permits, do they have to show you any kind of...
Usually some justification is necessary, and for the dig at Giza, Dr. Clive did provide more than adequate justification for his curiosity to more closely examine Mykarinos' pyramid. But upon moving to Memphis, in part the government wanted to issue the permits as a means of apologizing for the theft that he suffered. And in part he wanted to dig at a different location simply because of the theft that had taken place. It is less clear to me if he has any specific objective at this time, as there was little justification and the permits were rushed. There is no...
Just so happens that he's in the vicinity now of the red pyramid. And the red pyramid.
Indeed.
I don't think that's coincidence.
It might not be. Now, you haven't told him about the...
I'm about to tell him about the seal.
Oh, okay.
We can actually show him a piece of it.
Yeah.
We can actually show him both pieces of it.
That's true. What do you know about the...
Can you super glue this back together for us?
Well, we don't have them on us, but, like...
What do you know about the legend of the purpose of the Red Pyramid?
Well, I believe that the Red Pyramid was constructed as a means of keeping the Black Pharaoh's remains secure.
Although we can tell you
I think he's
that
told
purpose...
I think so. I think he was the one who told us. I was wondering where we got
well,
the
we can confirm for you that that purpose has been tainted by the Carlisle expedition. That the seal on the top of the Red Pyramid was broken.
This may explain the increased activity of the Black Pharaoh cult then in recent times.
We have 2 fragments of that broken seal here in Cairo with us. Our goal is to reseal the Red Pyramid.
I do not know if I can be of assistance in this matter, but if I can, let me know what I can do.
Well...
Well, we can't sacrifice him. It's already been tainted.
Yeah.
I would prefer you not sacrifice me.
What I'm
Do you know
suggesting
who could
is,
sacrifice?
if possible, facilities here are much more secure than our hotel. Would we be able to store them here? And if something were to happen to us.
You are asking if you can store an Egyptian artifact within the Egyptian museum? Yes, yes, you can.
But
Absolutely.
out of sight of those who may seek to take it.
Not every artifact is fit for exhibit yet. Many need to be cleaned and studied long before they can be put on display.
Some might be in boxes and shelves for years to come.
Indeed they might.
In fact, we have quite a few artifacts that...
So you could protect them from other people coming
That's what I'm getting at. And if heaven forbid something were to happen to us, and other friends of ours were to come by and ask about them, you would be privy to it as well.
I will do what I can to be of assistance.
This might be the best bet.
Better than a warehouse and better than a safe vault.
Yeah.
I have no love for the cult.
And the artifacts that we have are definitely...
And if these artifacts are truly ancient and Egyptian, there could be no better place for them to stay.
And some of them are
We're just hoping that they stay...
African as well.
Yeah. We just need to make sure that if we need them, we can access them. Without worry of...
We're looking for a safe place to put these things.
Yeah.
That's much more secure than a warehouse or currently a safe at a hotel.
I'm certain that the museum can offer you that.
Okay.
Well then. Thank you for the letter of introduction. We'll get back to you as soon as we talk to the museum.
Very good.
Alright. Let's head to the Mosque of Turban?
Anything else you guys want to take care of before you head there?
The bodies
I
are
think
still in the room?
no.
Have we dealt with that?
We've dealt with those. The local enforcement dealt with it. We'll perhaps get a courier to send our stuff that we have at the hotel
I don't
to the
think so.
museum.
I think we should do
Courier,
it
or are you
ourselves.
just going to take it yourself?
Yeah,
We can take it
ourselves.
ourselves. All right, we'll do that then before we go to
we
the.
can't trust...
We'll rent a truck or whatever.
Once we get our stuff back from Alexander, take it off.
Okay.
All right. I'm just saying if he can change his face and just walk in there, you know.
I mean,
Yeah.
we have to kill him. That's
Yeah.
all there is to it. We got to go find him and kill him.
That's
We
what
can't
we're in
be
the
local.
process of doing. I think.
Yeah, we can't.
At least I know
This
I
has
am.
to be done because he can keep changing his face, and he can go to Kafur
So
and pretend like he's us, and then
anybody
take
that
all our
has
stuff.
one arm dies. Doesn't matter which arm is missing.
Yeah.
That should be a new rule, yeah?
Before we leave, though, we'll say that
I'm
all
game.
the stuff that we have, we'll have a password that only we will know.
Yeah, because what stops him from going to Dr.
'Cause,
Kafur and
right,
taking our stuff?
If he,
I mean,
considering now we can't even trust.
Us.
Right. Although if he's missing a left hand,
yeah. We're assuming that his illusion...
if you see
He can hide that
if
easily.
you see Trinidad without a left hand, then probably not her.
Yeah.
Always make sure you see both hands. That can be one rule.
All right. So let's go to the mosque then. Should we rent a truck?
For the mosque?
Yeah.
And we're just going to talk to them, right? Right now?
We're going to be kind of laying an ambush here.
Well, we don't know what we're going to do until we see the location at...
You guys have already been there.
No, we didn't. I mean, we were at the facility, but I mean, we weren't inside.
Yeah, you were inside.
Oh, wait.
That's
not
where
really.
Najir took
That's where you
us?
talked to Najjar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The day before he died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring that
So
up.
wait, we're going to the mosque for what? To talk to them about...
To talk to the curator about...
We're going to let him in on the plan.
Right.
We have a letter from Dr. Kafur that basically... Dr. Kafur and this guy are obviously... They know about the
Allies
mythos,
of the
and they're
light.
not with the cult.
Right.
He's going to let... This is basically saying, we're not with the cult, we're actively opposing them, and there's an agent of the cult that we're going to lure there to basically eliminate.
Right. So I don't feel like we should rent a truck right now. Let's go talk to them and see what they say, see if they're in. And then while they try to lure, whoever tries to lure Alexander there, then we can get ready while they're doing that. Yeah, and get what we need.
Alright, so yeah, we'll head to the mosque.
They might give us more insight of what more we might need besides a truck. Who knows?
A tank.
A fire truck?
Filled with explosives.
Did they have fire trucks in Egypt?
I don't know.
It's a city. I'm sure they have more than just bucket brigades. I'm sure they have. It's 1920s, so it is still a city.
Well, the guys in the line with the buckets throwing.
I'm sure they have pumpers.
Yeah.
We don't need a fire truck to do that.
We need a fire truck for everything.
I guess we'll.
We need some swords and weapons to chop Alexander's body into pieces. Die!
Well, this is the person directly responsible for the death of my good friend, so I feel all right about what we're about to do.
I do too. And he stole from us.
And he killed our
lawyer. Took all of our money, took our books, killed our...
Stabbed me in the back.
Yeah, he's got it coming.
Well, he didn't leave me to live. I don't understand that. I still don't understand that.
She still has both her hands.
You were asleep in the other room. You don't know what happened, honestly.
No, I don't know what happened, I guess. How do we know that Alexander took it? Took everything.
You don't.
Oh, nobody knows that?
No, we don't know for
We
sure.
made the assumption.
We like to make a lot of assumptions.
Yeah.
Let's see. We were being followed by different people that had only a right hand, who I thought were just devotees that chopped off their hand. But I was wrong. We get off the train, delaying us by hours. He gets to Cairo hours before us. All of a sudden, you walk into the hotel, even though we were en route in a goat cart, like a cart pulled by goats at the time.
And
a go-kart? Then our stuff is gone. So 1 + 1.
And Mahmoud is dead.
Yes, 1 + 1 normally equals 2.
And Kafur did talk to a
one-armed Westerner.
Yeah, maybe we should have harvested some of his blood before we dumped his body. That might have been useful or something.
That could have been his
So
final
all
sacrifice.
clues lead to Alexander.
Mahmoud's final sacrifice.
I'm just saying.
To save the day.
Plus, if he's in cahoots with the cult, they want this artifact that's supposed to be here. He'll come.
Yeah, I think that's why.
Well, I think he's got to be in cahoots with it, even if he's under the control of...
I don't think he's under the control of anybody. I think he has his own motivations. Remember, he was promised to become a ruler.
Who?
Alexander.
When?
When he put on the mask.
Oh, when he put on the crown. Yeah,
he
was
have
talking
everything.
to him.
Yeah. The crowd said, these people are idiots. I mean, you're a king compared to them, you know?
Well, see if he bleeds.
Yep.
All right. I said we go to the mosque.
Okay. So you go to the mosque.
Is it going to be a massacre?
What do you say?
Well,
I'm just asking.
We'll see.
We asked to meet with the Niger.
Okay. And you pass the letter of introduction on, and the person looks at it briefly and says, I will see if he is available. Wait here, please. Young man goes off. He comes back 10 minutes later. Follow me, please.
You speaking in English?
Yeah, actually, he would be.
Very cool.
He leads you. He asks you to take your shoes off. Oh, wait.
You can't come in.
Yeah.
I've already got my shoes off. You want to see?
God.
See, my shoes are off.
You'd have to sit
Wait.
in the foyer.
I came in last time. How did I get in
There
last
was an area where women are permitted.
Yes.
Okay.
But you can't come to this area.
Yep. Okay.
So
I'll hang out here.
That means somebody's going to survive. That's what that means.
So
And-
I'm
and
ready to
Elle,
walk
she's
around
with us too,
and walk
so-
outside a little bit and check out
Elle's
outside.
probably back. No,
That's
Elle.
No, she's with us. She said she was coming along with
Oh,
us.
she was coming along? Okay.
Yeah, she said
so
she
the
was
two of
coming
you
along.
are
Me and her are hanging out.
There was that courtyard outside with the fountain and.
You probably have to have a shawl on too, or they wouldn't even let you in there.
Yeah.
So.
Remember, we're also in Old Cairo.
Yeah.
So we're probably dressed appropriately.
Okay.
We're not like in business
Western
suits.
garb.
Yeah, that says beat me and steal my shit.
I don't have
So
a
I think
business
we'll
suit.
just wait right there in the foyer. I feel
I'm
like
with
I'm not going
guys.
outside right now.
There would be a worship hall where women are permitted when
Okay.
garbed appropriately, but that's not where.
And you guys are going off into a meeting. He's telling you to come with
This
him.
is still a mosque,
Right.
so women aren't allowed.
So he's
past a
telling you to
certain
come with
point.
him.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going
And I'm
further in.
So I'm gonna stay right here.
But,
You guys
yeah.
come back and get me, okay?
Okay.
Come back and get me. Us.
Assuming we're alive to come back.
We'll be fine.
She's
Well,
making assumptions. So,
caw, caw.
Come in, and Nazir al-Dahabi is seated in a fairly comfortable-looking chair, and he gestures for you to take some cushions in front of him. He looks to be probably in his late 60s, early 70s. His face is lined and careworn. He's got a long white beard and a white skull cap.
but the important thing is, does he have two hands?
He does have two hands, yes, they are visible.
I'm not being paranoid or anything.
No.
It's not paranoia when everyone's out to get you.
You are on holy ground also, for the record.
I feel like I'll say that if I see anybody walking in with one hand, it's gonna alert me.
I think that's totally fair. Yeah, that's totally fair. I received your letter of introduction from Dr. Kafour. What is it what evil one is it you seek?
Former associates that turned and has been a thorn in our side
The one-armed bandit.
is now here working for, or working at least with,
Don't say his name. The
leadership of the cult of the Black Pharaoh.
The cult has been highly motivated to recover an item that we protect here at the mosque.
The girdle of Nitocris.
How are you aware of that?
Do the summary then.
That's news to me. I
We'll
didn't
bring them
know.
up to speed.
Yeah. We're singing a way to sell that we are truly heroes of the light here.
Yes.
It is good to know that the light has allies beyond those who serve here. There are 6 ulama who are sworn to guard the artifact here, and they are on constant duty. If you believe that we can draw this servant of the darkness in, I am certain that they would be more than happy to wield their scimitars in alliance with you to overcome the Agent of Dark.
We need all the help we can get.
Yeah.
It would honor us.
Very good then.
Now, we have the bait. We just need to erect the trap.
Come with me. He leads you down a flight of stairs into a cellar area. You're probably 20 feet below ground level. Excuse me. There is an iron door at the bottom of a flight of stairs. And it's surprisingly comfortable down here. Kind of cool and dry, as opposed to the heat that is kind of overwhelming, especially it's late June, right? Upstairs. And he pulls out a key from inside his robe, from a cord around his neck, and unlocks the door. Beyond, He leads you into a room that's about 20 foot square, made entirely of stone. There's a chest in the center of the room, iron and wooden chest, heavily reinforced. And you can see that it is bolted to the floor. There are several padlocks mounted to the front of it. Seated around the chest are 6 old men. They all look to be late 60s, early 70s. They're all wearing white skull caps, white robes, and each of them has a scimitar like, that thick, that wide, or that long. And they are sitting there, holding their weapon at the guard, deep in meditation or in prayer.
Not quite what I was expecting.
I figured it'd be one person in 4-hour shifts.
Yeah, their faith might give them strength.
I am hesitant to bring an agent of the darkness peaceably into this sanctum, but I also cannot release the guardians from protecting the artifact.
I did 75 in the morning and then 50 before I went to bed.
What is it that you have in mind? He briefly, introduces you to them and, rattles off names. And then, but this is not the place for the planning. This is a holy place. Closes the door. Leads you back to his office.
Yeah, we gotta think about, where we're gonna bring them.
We need a decoy. A magnet.
Why wouldn't you? I'm not here. I'll shut up. I'm going in the other room.
Obviously, we don't want to lead them to that spot, but there's, I'm sure, another area of the mosque that perhaps we could put a crate in. That could be a proxy.
A prop. But we cannot. The
But then we're gonna get the
guardians
6 people.
are on duty.
Yeah, the guardians.
They will remain. We'll have to deal with this.
But we won't have the 6 people. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Then it'll just have to be us. And if they get past us, the guardians will have to do what they have to do. But let's make sure it doesn't get past us. Is there a specific room that we could
lure this agent?
preferably in an area where maybe there's balconies or something where we can get good vantage points, like to really funnel him or others if he brings them with us, where we have most of the advantage.
If you do not...
Is there only one entrance to the underground area and it has to go through that room?
Yeah, it goes through... There was a
the
door...
storage room?
No, there was a door coming out of Al-Bahabi's office that led to the stairwell, that led to the door, that led to the sacred chamber. The other option would be to lead him to one of the minarets, one of the towers themselves of the mosque. And there, you could corner him again in a small room.
That might be a great option.
Well, we risk doing this.
Perhaps not the guardians, but do you know of stout men that could proxy as guardians to really sell this faith?
I could make arrangements. How many do you wish? Another 6 to match the 6?
To make it as... I assume if the cult has been observing you all, they know you already what you have here.
I fear they are knowledgeable. With that in mind, yes, we could...
To sell it even more, perhaps you
make
could...
an appropriate arrangement.
To sell it even more, perhaps you could have this proxy not really shown, but perhaps a small ritual where these 6 other men bring it to one of the towers.
he wishes to move the girdle?
No. The proxy of it. And those who might be watching will see that it's being moved.
We could arrange to do something after the next service.
Because if there's eyes, would you understand that there are eyes and ears everywhere?
Indeed.
Then doing this might help sell the lie, I guess.
In fact, if your service would even do something to almost bless the doorway or something into this tower, could even sell this more.
What day is today?
Today's Friday.
Oh, today is the holy day. What time was it?
It was 11 o'clock when we
right, so it's
met
probably
the dock.
about 3 o'clock now.
Yeah.
We could do an evening service.
Perfect.
Okay.
It'll give us time to move our things where they need to go, set up. One other thing. We have 2 associates with us that are women.
You have my sympathy.
They're warriors as well.
And it'd be essential for them to partake in this with us.
Then there are very few places within the mosque where we could permit that. There is no secure location.
They might have to be a rear guard then.
Yeah.
Alright. Looks like it would just be the 3 of us.
You can't leave us out when it comes to Alexander.
Well, we're hoping that we're going to trap him in a room with 9 people.
Well, I'll have 100 friends.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Okay.
Get those wheels in motion.
Yeah, so he goes 5:30 tonight. They'll perform a service, and it'll look like they're moving the relic to the tower. And then you're going to have Kafor asked to meet.
Right after this, right after we're done talking here now, we got the wheels in motion there. We'll go to Kafor, tell him to write the letter and get it to that hotel.
When do you want that meeting to take place?
Yeah.
Right after the service.
Tonight? That's not a lot of time.
Not all the time.
Right? I mean, just to get
how about
Kafor to write a letter and have a courier sent.
Yeah,
right.
And make sure he reads it tonight.
Yes.
Then it would be. We'll probably say then.
What day is the? What day are there the least amount of people in the mosque? We don't want to put any more people in harm's way.
Probably Monday.
Do a Monday.
Let's do it on Monday. Monday evening.
Sure.
Okay. Right. Just want to make sure he gets the letter. This whole charade is
penciled it in.
All done. Make sure the ears and eyes from the Brotherhood
now
get
keep
the
in mind,
information.
if you wait till Monday, that gives
Alexander all kinds of time.
more time to read Al-Azif.
Yeah, what could he learn in 3 days?
That's true.
He need like 1,000 years.
Sane people need
I think it
thousands
took
of
me.
years.
Yeah, he's not insane.
What was our first montage? 4
thing.
weeks. We did a 4-week montage.
Well, this
the
one
boat.
right here, study time only. I don't know. He wrote study time at the end of it. I don't know if
Excuse me.
So what's your guys' plan? Have you guys come back to us and told us
Yes.
what the plan is?
So the plan is,
we're gonna get ourselves all killed.
That's not true.
You be quiet,
unfortunately,
hobo.
you and Elle are going to be can only be in the parts of the mosque that allow women. That doesn't mean though that you won't be armed and you won't be able to kind of be the rear guard. Because our whole plan is to move it to this one tower so it funnels him, and if he brings anybody else to that tower, if they get past us, they'll fall on you guys to stop them.
Yeah. Or to run, and you'll be in a good place to escape.
So you're bringing you're funneling them into a space where there's going to be 6 people.
And us 3. Mm-hmm.
So here's the other thing.
So 6 people and you 3. Who's the 6 people?
They're just random people that are going to die. Red
6
shirts.
thugs. Or
6 red shirts.
6 devotees to
Devotees, yes. Or, soldiers, who knows.
So
I have a feeling, though, they're not going to be Joe from down the street.
You're making a fundamental assumption that he's going to bother to keep the meeting time. I mean, once he gets the information, from that moment forward, he could come anytime he wants.
But we're trying to sell that something is being moved from one
I understand that.
So we're hoping that like all of that would be sort of like the precedence to him.
Well,
then we camp out at the mosque.
That's what
for
I'm
the
telling
next few
you.
Days.
Is that once he receives that information, from that moment forward, he doesn't have to be like on a schedule. He might not follow your time schedule.
So we'll camp out at the mosque.
Can we send somebody to camp out and watch Alexander's comings and goings at where he's staying? Because we know where Alexander's staying, right?
Assume.
And we found that out.
Yeah.
You know where Alexander told Dr. Kafur he was staying.
That's right. We don't really know.
So
if he's
since
there.
it's the whole weekend, and we're going to be
at the mosque the whole weekend. Yes.
So I feel like we should send somebody to see if he is actually at this place, staying there, and watch his activity for the weekend.
I guess we could hire an urchin or something.
And if he finds
Westerner
out,
with one hand.
Just because if he leaves, what if he leaves, and what if he goes someplace and like he's gone? And
then this doesn't matter. All I'm saying is,
what
like,
if he
this
makes his
is our best. I don't want to get into so many what ifs that we're just like, oh, what am I
matter.
What if he makes his detect danger roll?
We have to go get him.
And then he'll know.
Stop shitting on it and just let's go with it.
I think this is.
Well, this is the fun part. Ripping the plan apart.
No, watching it fail in mid-plan is the fun part. But not even getting there is not. We have to get there first. So
we're going to try to trap him. That's what we're going to try to do.
Yeah, I think so.
If we have to camp out this weekend there, then so be it.
So we need to think of the letter now. We need to think of the letter to get him here. So we.
Before is
Yeah, but I mean, we need to think of like the key words to this letter that Kafur is going to write. Like,
I'm sure Dr. Kafur is a very intelligent guy.
Top of the 4 tower at noon on Monday. Be there.
Yeah.
There's the letter. You're done.
Well, the question is, did you want to wait to schedule the meeting until Monday, or did you want to have the meeting take place sooner?
My only question about the Monday thing was because in case this gets very out of hand, collateral damage. But I guess in pulpy 1926, collateral damage is irrelevant.
Well, the question is collateral damage versus giving Alexander more time with the book.
And planning a potential escape. Is it?
Set it up for tomorrow.
I think it's too long. It's too long.
We'll do it
Monday, especially with no eyes on Alexander.
Okay, the 27th then.
Okay, so Saturday the 27th.
Saturday.
Are you aiming morning, afternoon, evening?
We'll go with evening because then. No.
First thing in the morning. Let's do it.
No, because the morning prayers.
After the morning prayers.
Morning prayers are like sunup. So
okay.
Yeah, first thing in the morning as we can.
We got from sunup till lunchtime, I believe.
All right.
Because it's Friday night now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now we need to figure out how to get him here.
We already.
Kafar's doing that.
But how are we getting here?
Don't worry about how. Remember, we got a plan. Kafar's getting that plan.
Put it this way: if nothing happens, then nothing happens, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so your plan is to try to draw Dr. Alexander to the mosque for Saturday morning.
Yeah, you're using the girdle as bait.
It is now 5 minutes till 9 o'clock, so we'll have to
We're going to kill Alexander.
Next game session. For those who would like to troubleshoot or pick holes in their master plan, we encourage you to comment on our Facebook page, which is Master Nyarlathotep at Immortals Inc. Thanks to everyone watching. We'll see you next time.